DJ, turn the music up, put the lights down low. All the worries we had, we just let them go. Wasn't looking for love, I was happy alone. When you put your arms around me, how was I to know? You got me feeling things I never felt before. We get lost in the music on the dance floor. If I leave you now, I'll leave you wanting more. If I leave you now, I'll leave you wanting more. I never wanted it, now I can't get enough. You turn me on, how could I turn you?
For the motherland, be all I could, I would make a stand. I'd walk through the fire till the body falls. Don't fall, I would protect you. All that I've got to do now, yeah, I could save you. All that I've got to do now. Something worth fighting for, and nobody gets to choose everything. All that I've got, it couldn't be enough. Without your love, and I would protect you. I would do anything now. Yeah, I could save you. All that I've got to do now. I could be your hero, fighting for your love soul. I could be your hero, fighting for your love soul, yeah. Yeah.
I think I sleep till it's over. I think I sleep till it's over. I think I sleep till it's over. Broken letters, broken vein, breathing every now and then. Getting hurt but never learn. I'm falling short of hope again. I need a shock to bring me round, to pull my head from underground. I'm calling out but there's no sound. How many times can we make up? How many years will this take up? And never is as long as forever. When it's love but it's over. I've woken up in the headlights, sticking from the clouds in mid-flight. Never is as long as forever. I think I'll sleep till it's over. 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 Stone days never end. Words I knew you couldn't say. We pretend we're more than this. Make believe that it's okay. I need a shock to bring me round, to pull my head from underground. I'm calling out but there's no sound. How many times can we make up? How many years will this take up? And never is as long as forever. When it's love but it's over. I've woken up in the headlights, sticking from the clouds in mid-flight. Never is as long as forever. I think I'll sleep till it's over. 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 I think I'll sleep till it's over.
Take me under your wing, crack of thunder, as the wild birds sing. You can hear hunger crying out, a sonic echo that leaves no room for doubt. All the shots bring it back to what it's not. Make
club that night. The moment you arrived, it was more than nice to meet you. I know, baby, that you're one of a kind, with a body perfect and divine. Oh, so come and let the music play, so we can move our bodies. And girl, no matter what you do, just do it hot and naughty. We drink the bar 'cause we don't pay. Tonight nothing brings me down, down, down. Oh, I can tell you now, this is gonna be the best time of your life. I can see it now. This is gonna be the best time of your life, time of your life. Yeah, yeah, time of your life, time of your life. Yeah, yeah, time of your life, time of your life. Yeah, yeah, best time of your life. Finally, baby, we've been up all night. The sun's about to rise, and it's nothing but a feature dancing, moving slowly out of sight. Feeling vibrant and alive. Oh, let's do a thing and celebrate. Cruising a Ferrari, let's live it like it's the last day and head for the next party. There's nothing they can take away from me. Yeah, 'cause nothing brings me down, down, down. Oh, I can tell you now, this is gonna be the best time of your life. I can see it now. This is gonna be the best time of your life, time of your life. Yeah, yeah, time of your life, time of your life. Yeah, yeah, time of your life, time of your life. Yeah, yeah, best time of your life, best time of your life, best time of your life, best time of your life. I can feel it now.
On the floor, baby, you and me. It's so easy like 1, 2, 3. I don't care if it's day or night. We together make me feel alright. It's a feeling that you can't describe. We don't stop till the morning light. Please, I know what you want and I set you free.
Starts when the sun used to set and the night is drawing me closer, right at your side. You're calling my name and you're shining your light down on me.
It's so easy like 1, 2, 3.
Pushing me, spinning me, turning me round. You
It's all the way up, we gonna make it. The party won't stop until we break it. I head for the top, we gonna take it. Tell me, are you ready? Tell me, are you ready? We want it all, we cannot fake it. We're standing tall, it's time to break it. We go for the clubs, we do the kingship. Tell me, are you ready? Tell me, are you ready? Are you ready or not? Are you ready to go? We got the body and snow and the future, you know. Are you ready or not? Are you ready to go? Come on, let's get up and let it go. Are you ready or not? Are you ready to go? We got the body and snow and the future, you know. Are you ready or not? Are you ready to go? Come on, let's get up and let it go. Come on, let's get up and let it go. The vodka is up, come on and drink it. The moon's in our cup until we sink it. I head to the club, come on, get wasted. Tell me, are you ready? Tell me, are you ready? People won't stop and girls are tasty. We're over the top, girls getting hasty. Still not enough, we make it big time. Tell me, are you ready? Tell me, are you ready? Are you ready or not? Are you ready to go? Come on, let's get up and let it go. Are you ready or not? Are you ready to go? We got the body and snow and the future, you know. Are you ready or not? Are you ready to go? Come on, let's get up and let it go. Come on, let's get up and let it go. Right now, I got this beat in my head. Right now, I want to dive into this world. Let it out for the crowd, let it out, yeah, be proud. Right now, this is a real good atmosphere. Right now, superficialities are here. No excuse, no rules, no one to judge. Just give a fuck. The time has come to lose control. Don't be so shy, just let it flow. We are the masters of our own world, of our own world. We pray for fire in the sky. We show that desire is alive. We stick together, together, together. We're alright. of our own world, of our own world. expensive champagne on their private jet plane. All we need is a cheap bottle of wine and a cigarette to have a good time. A freedom, a victim, and no restriction. There's no other place to die than here with us tonight. The time has come to lose control. Don't be so shy, just let it flow. We are the masters of our own world. We pray for fire in the sky. We're sure that this night is our night. We stick together, together, together. We're alright. The time has come to lose control. Don't be so shy, just let it flow. We are the masters of our own world. Of our own world.
Now I know how it feels to hold pure solid gold. Sleep in the arms of my only minute tiny world. And right here in our arms you'll stay till you can find your own way. Oh, my son, stay curious, my boy. Always ask where this road goes. Oh, my son, stay curious, my boy. Just outside your door, you'll find love where you don't know. You know that if you ever tried your last, call out on me if the old wind broke your mind. Set out to sea if you've fallen down. You know that I'm here, so you come on home to me. Oh, my son, stay curious, my boy. Always ask where this road goes. Oh, my son, stay curious, my boy. Just outside your door, you'll find love where you don't know. You know that if you ever tried your last, call out on me if the old wind broke your mind. Set out to sea if you've fallen down. You
ない理解不能のスピード100倍速い地獄なんて哀れよねねえ聞いてよね負けの準備でもしておきな Come try me get you down 悩んでもやめないわ No more 苦い思い消えてよこの街に呼ばれる際にレクチャー全力で追い越してよさトレーディングモード始めよう安全な近道なんての完全にアウトだからあんたの後悔楽しみだわすげた気づいてよマジでベイビー一番でノックアウトするわ You better be listen 地獄なんて哀れよねねえ聞いてよね負けの準備でもしておきな Come try me yet when you were down 悩んでもやめないわ No more 苦い思い消えてよこの街に呼ばれる際にフェクチャー全力で追い越してよさ Dreamingの始めよう身も蓋もないわねマジでメール既読無視でもてめトラブルならすぐ相談してよだなんて細い指先が僕を指す Please come this wayピンヒールで突き刺す血の味が欲しいまで純粋だと思ったばかりね赤いリボンで踊るネオンライトがきらめく騙されたなんてめめしいやつね通報するならすれば罪深いの私よこの世のクズどもよかも民がひれ伏す農場の世界へようこそ
落とし穴に落ちたあなた Please come this way ビールで突き刺す血の味が欲しい前に純粋だと思ったバカね赤いリップで踊るネオンライトがきらめく騙されたなんてめめしいやつね通報するならすれば罪深いの私よこの世のクズどもよかも
You and me going out tonight. Let's turn the radio on. You got your skirt on tight and your legs on long. Let's lay some whiskey down. We'll dance all night, then get it on to another country song. Tonight, let's turn the radio on. You got your skirt on tight and your legs on long. Let's lay some whiskey down. We'll dance all night, then get it on to another country song. Tonight, let's turn the radio on. You got your skirt on tight and your legs on long. Let's lay some whiskey down. We'll dance all night, then get it on to another country song. You and me going out tonight. Let's turn the radio on. You got your skirt on tight and your legs on long. Let's lay some whiskey down. We'll dance all night, then get it on to another country song.
Stop playing with my heart right now. Girl, I need you in my life right now. Though I'm all tied up, need your love right now. Stop playing with my heart right now. Girl, I need you in my life right now. Though I'm all tied up, need your love right now. No, I'm balling out, yeah. But my heart plays loud, yeah. And I'm all freaked out, cause I got nothing to say to you. But will I be down, yeah, when you come around, yeah. So let's get right down, cause we ain't got much time. And every time you hold me, I think about the times that I was lonely. Keep reminiscing about how you the only one that makes me me wanna look into your eyes and say, stop playing with my heart right now. Girl, I need you in my life right now. Though I'm all tied up, need your love right now. Stop playing with my heart right now. Girl, I need you in my life right now. Though I'm all tied up, need your love right now. Yeah, we could take time to work things out, oh, yeah. But I want you in my life so we could have each other, yeah. I know it seems hard to shine, but you're a million stars ahead all the same time, yeah. And you know I really mean it. And every time you hold me, I think about the times that I was lonely. Keep reminiscing about how you the only one that makes me wanna look into your eyes and say, stop playing with my heart right now. Girl, I need you in my life right now. Though I'm all tied up, need your love right now. Stop playing with my heart right now. Girl, I need you in my life right now. Though I'm all tied up, need your love right now. I saw you sitting in the moonlight, tripping, pain runs through your heart. Oh, we were skinny dipping, slowly sipping, then we fell apart. I'm just trying to catch a break from your love, oh, yeah, hey. Cause I need to find a new life, no love, oh. I can't lie, I've been thinking about us, but you, yeah. Tell me everything's gonna be alright. Tell me that you're never gonna need spotlight. Just say how you feeling, I don't wanna waste time. I saw you sitting in the moonlight, tripping, pain runs through your heart. Oh, we were skinny dipping, slowly sipping, then we fell apart. I'm just trying to catch a break from your love, oh, yeah, hey. Cause I need to find a new life, no love, oh. I can't lie, I've been thinking about us, but
you know better than anybody around me, yeah, you know. I think we both need a break from this thing called love. All love ain't the thing to question, it's all love. I got plenty problems and no shoulder. Last night on the tour, ain't no tour bus.
I saw you sitting in the moonlight, tripping, pain runs through your heart. Oh, we were skinny dipping, slowly sipping, then we fell apart. I'm just trying to catch a break from your love, oh, yeah. Cause I need to find a new life, no love, oh. I can't lie, I've been thinking about us.
Different energies I bring, only sickness I fling. Bad like Gustavo Fring, can't try not a ting. Flyboy, I got the wings, and they can't keep up with me, dog. That's why all that I bring is wins. And they wanna hold me back, never doubt I'm a king. When they grab Mike and a chap on the ting, I don't wanna hear no talk from jokers. Say you got waves, I'll split that like Moses. The way that I catch it is flawless, it's awkward, cause they can't do it when they talk up. I don't wanna hear that ever. Stay on the ground like Cellar, they know man shell off. Feel man trying to get ahead of me. They should've known they ain't really got the energy. I got the energy. Run laps and laps round them, they ain't even got no energy. So that means no power. They don't wanna be my enemy. That might end up in a penalty. I got a different energy, no matter what I encounter. No, I got the energy. Run laps and laps round them, they ain't even got no energy. So that means no power. They don't wanna be my enemy. That might end up in a penalty. I got a different energy, no matter what I encounter. No, I got the energies. I got the energies. energy. Run laps and laps round them, they ain't even got no energy. So that means no power, they don't wanna be my enemy. That might end up in a penalty. I got a different energy, no matter what I encounter. No, I got the energy. Run laps and laps round them, they ain't even got no energy. So that means no power, they don't wanna be my enemy. That might end up in a penalty. I got a different energy, no matter what I encounter. No, I got the energy. They ain't even got no energy. They don't wanna be my enemy. I got a different energy. I got a different energy.
Putting out the fires, my head calls me a liar. I'm sick of breathing in your smoke. Leave a little longer, embrace a little harder. Yeah, every time we're not wrong, it's like we're walking on water. Oh, too good to last long. Putting out the fires and looking for a miracle. It's like we're walking on water. It's like we're walking on water. Leave a little longer, embrace a little harder. Yeah, every time we're not wrong.
你爸爸喜欢看什么？我爸爸喜欢看观赛指南。一周季后战罢，几支队伍回家，仅剩的4强战队也完成了胜败者的分组。今年的4强正是常规赛的前4名，乾坤也许未定，但黑马是真没了。实际上，在之前的比赛里，完成以下克上的战队也只有 EDG 与 NIP， 只可惜关键局没有在峡谷 City Walk 的卡莎依旧拿不下比赛，而完美的 Gap Day 一个赛季可能只有1天。要知道，上次 LPL 出现这种情况还是2020年的春季赛，不记得的话，阿南帮你们回忆一下，那个赛季的冠军正是京东，那一年的目标已经成功。7月29日 ，TS 与 LNG 的败者组对决率先拉开帷幕。常规赛第4的 TS 作为首支落入败者组的队伍，是不是相当合理？尽管面对 EDG 时，双 C 的出色发挥帮助 TS 避免了1轮游的尴尬局面，但上中野鹰雄池的掣肘还是让他们在与 BLG 的比赛中落败。而在无人在意的角落晴天，可能已经热身了2个 BO5。无论如何，如今的 TS 等别人可能是够呛了，这次他们恐怕得自己先好好调整。他们的对手则是上个 BO5 让 BLG 与 EDG 仰卧起坐的 LNG。Scout 在这个赛季让人们看到了中单对一个战队的影响究竟能有多大，而状态逐渐复苏的 Kala 与 Tarzan 也让粉丝为这支 LNG 寄予了更大的希望。在3-2艰难淘汰 WBG 之后，尽管 LNG 在与 JDG 的遭遇中打出了超出期待的表现，却还是遗憾地来到了败者组。这场比赛不仅关乎谁能继续向银龙杯发起冲击，同时也将决定之后冒泡赛的格局。胜者组的对局依然来自 LPL 今年的大小王带虾户，这届阿南我真的看过。如果 JDG 再次获胜，只能说南蛮以南还有路，孟获还不是归宿。算上全球总决赛上可能的遭遇，他们有机会在1年内将同一个对手连续拿下9次。作为硕果仅存的全华班 ，BLG 也是夏季在4强中唯一一支没有世界冠军的战队，连败6次不假，但有5次都是上个赛季的事了，好吧？麻烦看看谁才是常规赛第1，大王小王你真的分得清
？Oh, yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of the split, or at least that time that cannot be understated, underestimated, and underappreciated. As we walk into JDG BLG, yet again, that has been this year's rivalry. I welcome you. My name is Asterix. I'm joined by Lyric. We will take you through what hopes to be a brilliant series, because Lyric, every time we approach this series this year, every time we approach these two teams together, it delivers like the JDG top esports that has been a recent rivalry itself. Feels like this is a new addition.
Yeah, doesn't matter what the scoreline is. Like when these teams meet up, they deliver some good games. Both, I mean, makes sense, right? First and second in the regular season, like finals of spring, finals of MSI. Yeah. They're going to put on a show no matter what.
I mean, again, this is looking real good because we know through the regular season there's been some upsets, there's been some surprising results to finish off. But before we do touch on the base of BLG JDG in our upper bracket finals, we're going to touch on yesterday, or rather the day before, Lyric, because LNG versus Top Esports went a very different direction than I think a lot of fans were expecting.
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought that Top Esports would be able to make it a closer affair. Hell, even some people, maybe a bit of hopium, thinking they'll come out with the win. Me being part of that hopium. Mm-hmm. But the problem was LNG, just clearly the better team. I think there was some aspects for Top Esports that we already knew were going to be a liability. You're looking at Wayward, who, when he was going up against Zika's been having a phenomenal playoff series so far. Sure. Scout and Tarzan delivering as the best jungle mid 2v2 in the league. We even saw them do that up against JDG, and that's why they were able to push JDG to 5 games. So for Top Esports, I really feel like only Rookie and Jackie Love have been showing any semblance of life in Top Esports playoff tenure so far.
Yeah, true. There's a lot of issues, especially in that top side, I will say. A disappointing finishing game on the Gnar from Wayward. And he's received a lot of criticism, and fair to it. It feels like it's pretty deserved. As Top Esports, I will say, Lyric, this team has a huge star power. We know it has a huge ceiling. They will get themselves another chance in the regional gauntlet, but The question is, can they perform there against the talent lineup of Weibo Gaming? Because that's where they've secured it. Rookie and Jaculov, now because of how this series ended, have to go up against the Shy for even a chance, a glimpse at that 4th seed at Worlds.
It's actually so sad that one of them's going to end up eliminating each other from Worlds. Like, why we got to put friends against each other, man? I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. But for LNG, Road doesn't get much easier from here because now, they won their series. That's great. Now they're going to have to go up, either get a rematch against JDG if they fall to BLG, or go up against BLG, who are just so indomitable in the split. Luckily for them, we've been hitting on it all the second half of playoffs, that even if they do go down, they are still guaranteed in that regionals as well. And if they went there right, they would at least go into like the upper bracket side, which the first playoff series would give you a spot to Worlds. So not the end of the world for them. And luckily, they're still alive and kicking.
Mazel uses the word Guardian Angel a lot on this broadcast, talking about second chances. LNG, in that regard, have not only the one they've got now, but if they lose this, as you were saying, they have a chance at 3rd seed, but then a Guardian Angel to play for 4th seed at Worlds. So
yeah,
it is a good system being where you are, being up in that top 3. LNG, many chances and a very high possibility of them going the distance or at least getting a world spot. But we're here to talk about BLG versus JDG, a series that we've been waiting for a while, Lyric. A series that, let's be real, with the form of these two teams this year, this feels like it could be a prelude to the finals that we're going to get again.
Yeah, it really does. And, I don't want to speculate too far advanced, but even who knows what kind of matchups that these two teams would be deliver if they make it to Worlds, which both of these teams are expected to make it. We're starting with JDG first. They were pushed to 5 games by LNG in their last series. A lot of that coming out from what we said Scout and Tarzan were able to do in that mid-jungle. So we're going to need to see Knight, Kanavi come alive today. I feel like Knight had a pretty solid first series in that first one, but Kanavi definitely being a little bit slower.
A little bit slow. I was laughing, Lyric, because look at the champion pool. Barely fits on the graphic. Kanavi has just gone every which way he can with the champion pool. I think it's 16 or something. I
think he regrets some of those, though. Like, you think back to the Nico in that last series, and it's like, all right, Chief, this one ain't it.
Yeah, again, some of them questionable, but some of them, again, just the audacity, knowing that he is one of the best junglers, if not the best jungler in the league.
Yeah.
And with JDG behind him, where could he go wrong? Probably his mindset is on the other side, BLG. We could talk about this team for days, Lyric, because they got their best ever placement in the summer season. In fact, the best ever LPL placement in the history of a single conference. 15-1 has never been done before.
Yeah.
And BLG breaking records, but also breaking minds.
Yeah, I will.
To this point.
I will say FPX done a little bit dirty because they did it when there was one less team in the league.
But it doesn't matter. It's 14. It doesn't count.
It wasn't possible for them to do it. But point is, yeah, this BLG team, I mean, even comparing it to other top teams of past, I think they've looked a lot more dominant in their wins. Like, hell, even comparing them to JDG, despite the fact that JDG have always gotten the better BLG this year, BLG against the teams under them this year have been so dominant. You even look at their first playoff series against Top Esports, which we know Top Esports is a worse team than LNG now, but it's even hard to pick apart any flaws that BLG showed in that series.
Yeah, and again, look, as we compare stats, I mean, BLG have been clean, right? The first turret percentage is the lead at 15. Once they run away with the game, I know JDG are beating them in that stat, but across the board, I think what we can say about the similarities in these teams, Lyric, is that once both teams finds a lead in the early game, they really run away with it. They secure games. And that's what makes these two exciting. That's what makes them exciting to watch versus some of those lower teams, because they are just so clinical in closing a game out.
Yeah, I think both these teams so decisive when they do find a lead. It's going to bring us to our key player matchup. A bit surprised that we didn't end up with Knight versus Yigao, just with how instrumental they are and how many times they faced off, but I like this one because Shun has been having a phenomenal split. I feel like Kanavi as well, much better than he was in spring, where he was a little bit back and forth. He's been a standout. The one thing I highlighted is that it felt like Kanavi not fighting the best showing up in their series against LNG. Now, though, going to get to step up, prove himself against Shun. And I mean, hell, Kanavi, a lot more accolades, a more tenured player, more experience. And I feel like he's going to be able to show the best of what he's able to bring to the table today.
Yeah, Kanavi, so many titles. I mean, I wrote up a comparison before the show as well. Kanavi has done so much in his small time in the LPL. As again, we look for a closer highlight, Lyric. And I will just add in this nice little stat that every finals that Kanavi's been to has been a championship. His only MSI, a championship. His 2 Worlds appearances, getting him top 8 once, top 4 on the other part. Kanavi is instrumental now to our league again in such a short time since coming here in the LPL in 2019 summer, over from Griffin on loan. while Shun might not have the accolades, Lyric, but now this year, he's finally getting into LPL finals. He's getting into the MSI. This guy's finally on the radar, as he was already such an explosive player. He just needed a more solid team behind him.
Exactly. We know from his days on IG that he was the standout. He was the carry. At times, he was dealing like 22% of his team's damage as a jungler, which people who, maybe don't look at league stats might think, oh, what does that mean? Junglers usually sit between like 10 and 15%. Like he was the guy who had to step up. We saw it in that graphic, even bringing out the Nidalee so far in playoffs in their last series. So really going to get kind of this veteran seen the heights in Kanavi against an up-and-comer like Shun, who's finally getting his time like you were hitting on with this BLG roster.
But I will say, backtracking to what you were saying before, like we are talking about the junglers being key players, as on the Chinese side they are. But you said it could have been between mid, right? The Pinks young boys, the guys that grew up together playing Internet Cafe together. But Lyric, it could also be between 80 carries. Elk with his pentakill in the last series as well. One of the best series in playoffs, I think, in history for me versus top esports. And then Ruler is just being Ruler as an absolute god of the league now coming in for his first year. Like, you could look at matchup v matchup. You could look at Bin versus 369, who I think are the best two top laners in the league personally. And that also could be a highlight. That's what the star power is of these rosters. That's why we know they're both going to Worlds, regardless, at this point. It's just about in what spot and how far they can run into playoffs and if they can take another domestic title, or their first in BLG's case.
Exactly, right? And that's the big thing, because I still feel like these teams really have different goals and different expectations, despite the fact that they've met so many times. For JDG now, it's about winning everything. Already won Spring, already won MSI. They are expected, they should win Summer. They should be expected to win Worlds with the star power they have, with what they've already achieved. To where BLG, it's getting that first championship on the board for the organization, and even a lot of these players, right? You're looking at Shun, you're looking at players like Elk and On, who haven't been able to achieve that before. So I think that's what makes this matchup today so interesting, is just the fact that I guess BLG have been able to keep up despite, again, what should be a difference in expectation.
I mean, again, the organization's just come out of nowhere, because last year, Lyric, remember, it was the super team. It was the team with Uzi. Doggo had to play in his part for a bit, but we had Uzi, Crisp, Fofo. What was in jungle? It wasn't Shun. Who am I missing, Lyric? Because I
remember we'd way for a bit.
We did indeed, but it was a super team regardless of the point, wasn't it? It was a team that was hyped up to win these championships, was built to win. And then this year, it's a roster that's like the leftovers. Bin stays through the summer split after his trade-off with Breathe and RNG after winning MSI. Shun, as you said, comes from IG. Yagalk gets kicked off by JDG because Knight's in the way. Elk is thrown to the wayside.
But I want to point out,
Weibo.
it's like the good leftovers. It's like if you went to a party and there's like a leftover slice of cake, that slice of cake's still going to be a banger 3 hours later. Like all these guys, right?
But it has been left out.
Expected to do.
It has been left out. You don't know who's touched it, right? That's the problem.
I do feel like we know what teams have touched these players, but I know what you're saying. I feel like the only real surprise being On, right? On with the amount of progression he's made, going up against Missing, who's been a standout, even like going back to his WE days when you knew he was a highlight, which is kind of funny, right? Talking about On versus Missing, and then bringing the dynamic once again of Missing versus Elk, the former bot lane duo for so long.
As we throw to the arena to get this party started again, what is the cake going to look like today as BLG JDG takes stage to get us into this upper bracket semi-final. Rather, finals it is.
各位亲爱的召唤师们，欢迎来到2023年英雄联盟职业联赛夏季赛季后赛。首先，让我们欢迎北京 JDG Inter Esports Club。上单369，打野 Kanavi， 中单 Knight， 下路 Ruler， 辅助 Missing， 主教练 Homie， 接下来，让我们欢迎哔哩哔哩 Gaming 平安 Bank。上单冰，打野勋，中单牙膏，下路 Elk。辅助 on， 主教练 Tabi， LPL 夏季赛季后赛第10日的比赛将会由 BLG 平安银行对阵北京 JDG 英特尔 ，LPL 5位进巅峰。
The question is going to be about the year-long curse, isn't it? Can it be broken here today with BLG never beating JDG, whether it's in regular season or in a best-of-5? Can they finally do it here as myself and Lyric welcome you back? Now, Lyric, we're going to talk a little bit about draft. We're going to talk about the patch at hand and what is going to be on priority here for today, because I feel like so far we've seen additions of things like Azir, Nico still being played. We're still getting that Tristana Kai'Sa priority. What hits first for you? What rings true to start this series off?
I feel like I have like a few questions in my mind. The first one being the Jax, because JDG have shown like they want to ban the Jax. You don't really expect 369 to bring that one out. We know it's a bin signature, so I'd expect JDG to ban it. But we saw in their last series, when you have that pocket Gragas for 369, it's not really something you need to do. I mean, hell, 369 picked up the MVP in the game. They let it through against LNG, and he was able to play the Gragas, right? So that's kind of the first one I'm looking at, is how comfortable are JDG letting that one open? Because if they are, right, you can like allocate bans in other places, whether that be like in jungle for targeting maybe some more of Shun's pool or elsewhere, right? And the other big one to me is things like the LeBlanc, because for some reason BLG have been consistently banning this champion in playoffs, despite the fact that when we think back to 2020, like that was the Yagao signature. Thinking back to 2020, you know Yagao for LeBlanc and Zoe. Those were his two picks, but he's been a little bit shy in bringing it out recently. So it's really these solo lane matchups that I'm most curious about, because we already know in the 2v2 that both bot lanes are able to hang with each other. They've been our two best laning bot lanes. You know, maybe if you throw Jackie and Mark in there as well, like there's definitely that trifecta of great in lane. They'll be able to match up, but it's really those solo lanes and like the counter picks you can bring out that I think might really influence this matchup.
And if it does go down the rabbit hole of like, well, these Jax bans come through, the Renekton bans come through, as you said, like maybe getting rid of some of the pockets like the Gragas, we know that champion pool extends even past that. 369 and Ben have things like the Camille hidden away. I know that 369 is an Ornn player as well. He'll even throw out the Sion if he has to. It never ends up in that top lane. And if we are just talking about champion pools in this patch, Lyric, like Kanavi's already shown with his 5 different champions played in this playoff series versus LNG, that he's willing to play anything as well. So I feel like it's going to be very hard to ban these players out. It is just about what S tier we're giving away, what A tier we're giving away in this upcoming series.
Yeah, I agree. Especially when you look at jungle, because not only for Kanavi, but like we said, Shun with the Nidalee, right? There's a lot of things you have to worry about. Bin now being able to play tanks, and it felt like a lot of that was getting crushed by 369. So it feels like their champion pools definitely align way more now than they ever have in the past. So I just want to see some more early game aggression coming out from both sides, because I think both teams, like we said, do best when they find a lead and they're just able to snowball so flawlessly. It's when we see them fall behind where you can see the struggles come through and where you can see that they're not as practiced, because the quality of player on both teams, they are so consistently able to find leads in the regular season of the LPL.
That's right, indeed they are. And look, again, BLG with an unprecedented finish to the split, but will it be enough to topple JDG's? We're getting a pick ban. JDG on blue here, Lyric, which we know has been the preferred side in both of these patches now. As BLG toppling red are going to start with the Rakan, the Xayah ban there, the Kai'Sa ban, rather, leaving bottom lanes taken away with Annie on top by JDG.
Yeah, and it seems like JDG are really like throwing the gauntlet to Yagao, so we're highlighting solo lanes, saying, hey, some of the old meta staples you're proficient on, but are you going to pick the Jace? Are you going to pick the Tristana? Because it looks like all these things might just go through here. BLG, like we said, have been really leaning on things like that LeBlanc ban, so we're going to see if they keep it up here. Even if they, don't ban it out, the mid lane pool is already very open. Knight's going to be able to get his hands on something aggressive. So now, with so many strong picks open, the Renekton, the LeBlancs, what did JDG go for? But it's straight to the LB.
Again, you were saying there's a lot of respect played on this, but BLG, without the ban away, putting the Maokai instead, makes me beg the question, Lyric, what do you pull into it? Is it a Jace angle? Is it a Tristana angle? Both are now open.
Yeah, I definitely think either one would be fine. I'm curious to see what Yagao is more comfortable on because we haven't seen either one picked up in playoffs just yet. I was wondering if maybe they'd go for something like a Renekton here as well. 369, when that one was open in their last series, was really liking to pick it up in the game that they lost against LNG. He still was the one really performing on it. So with the Sejuani coming out, I wouldn't be surprised if we ended up with a Jace here. Renekton, like I just said, another possible option. Or if you want to get your hands on an early AD carry, because Kai'Sa Xayah really have just been the talk of the town on this patch.
True. Xayah, great point.
There's just so many power picks left open. There's just so many.
This is what we talked about. This is what we talked about, whether it's the power picks that they can be utilized by both these teams, or if it's just the fact that there is so much available. BLG end up locking in the Renekton. There's one of them against 369. But as you were saying, that bot pick, that Xayah, is left and available even without the Rakan. Something like the Rel is still available here if they want to lock in the 2v2.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either because JDG really liked using that as an early flex, right? They'd pick it up early. Both Kanavi and Missing are able to play it. But the fact that Renekton's being shown, it seems like maybe leaning in a different direction for now. I don't expect this one. I think Cassante would do quite well in their comp. 369 has been relegated to just a tank role all split long, even if we know he's able to get his hands on these champions. And there we go.
There it is.
He's just going to bring it out straight away. The signature Gragas pick. Like I said, if you missed that last series, 369 absolutely took over.
And he always does. I think since Carson said he couldn't play Gragas, 369 has had a passion and a fury to prove otherwise in the LPL. But now that that gets locked in, Lyric, my biggest question is about jungle here for BLG. What they look for, because as an option, you already know what's going top side. Mid's going to be the other thing. Excuse me, the Sejuani's already there. Mid instead, the Azir, which has also been a priority.
Yeah, so wanting to get their hands, having a bit of that scaling there and available to them. We're going to see how he's able to contend with the pressure that Knight's able to put on early on in the lane. And now it's kind of interesting, right? Because for BLG, knowing that JDG don't have a jungle just yet, I wonder if they opt into that Rel ban that we were talking about, or if they themselves want to pick it up on 4, and if they have an idea of kind of how they want to play out that 2v2. And for JDG, for you, it's, trying to take away, I think, some other AD carries. We've already seen things like the Ezreal really coming a bit more into prominence lately. Obviously, there's a lot of dashes and things that can get on top of your backline on the side of JDG, so I think that can be an idea of where BLG are looking. Varus, another champion we know is incredibly strong right now, but BLG, Elk's only played it once in the split, so we'll see how comfortable he is bringing it out here, but it would lean nicely with the Azir, and also just double down on some of the early game aggression that things like the Renekton are able to put on the table.
Well, now that the Aphelios is taken away, we're sliding closer towards that, as I will say he's been an Aphelios Andy throughout the regular season, as a lot of players in the bot side have been. With that taken away, Lyric, we're starting to talk about things like the Ashe. He's played Cogmore, Lucian, as you mentioned, the Varus is there. Tristana also still available. That's usually a first or a second rotation here, even in this patch. So, interestingly enough, it's not going to be banned just yet with the Alistar taken away from Missing. I feel like that's a ban that throughout the series we'll see against both of these supports who are very proficient on the pick.
Also makes me wonder if they are trying to lean towards that Rel on 4, right? Because Alistar ban usually coming out against the Rel. So there it is. JDG do take that one away. So now I'm interested in seeing where they lean. We've already highlighted things like the Ezreal and Varus both still being on the table. And it really would just kind of change the way they end up playing. Again, when you have things like the Explosive Cask and the LeBlanc, I like the idea of having more mobility, but they're going to wait to show their hand for now, just wanting to pick up the Engage support and make sure that JDG don't get their hands on more Engage and more Lockdown.
Well, Brom might change as a pick as well, Lyric. Thinking about how to run something like the Virus into this comp, things are already looking a little bit difficult, as missing on the Brom is a classic here to set up the 2v2. But my question goes towards jungle. Kanavi hasn't showed his hand yet. Kanavi has played a unique champion throughout his playoff series thus far. The Kindred is being looked at. I mean, again, you can never tell with this guy. It could literally be Urgot jungle, for all I know at this point.
Yeah, it would. With Kanavi, you're just always left guessing. I like the idea of him getting his hands on a carry when you already have what could be a pretty sufficient front line, though you do expect 369 to go towards the AP variant of the Gragas. That's the one he likes to lean on. So we're going to get strong mid-jungle coming through with the Lee Sin. I mean, you have double AP solo lanes, right? So you definitely have a plethora of options in where you're able to look early. I've really been honing in on this Ezreal because you just have so many threats you have to worry about on the side of JDG. So I like that BLG end up going with this one instead of a more immobile pick that would make Elk's life a living hell.
Oh, man, he wouldn't be able to move, wouldn't be able to do a thing, but with the Lee Sin on the other side, still going to be curious as to how this gets played out, because Lyric, Elk left with limited options in the end. I think you need to run me through how this comp operates, because I see some kind of front to back. I see some range to play through, but I'm kind of wondering how it all pieces together for BLG to kick us off.
Yeah, I think definitely the longer the game goes on is like where BLG are feeling best, right? You have Azir plus Ezreal. You're going to have a very competent front line with not only Sejuani or Renekton, but if the game goes late enough to where Nautilus is picking up items too, it just feels like the comp is very well-rounded to where for JDG, even if you still have a lot of those team-fighting elements there, right? You have Azir, you're going to be able to poke and prod with something like a LeBlanc. Definitely feels to me like they're more skirmish-heavy, especially if they end up opting into the AP Gragas, because an AP Gragas, LeBlanc, Lee Sin, a lot of burst, a lot of mid-game damage, and that's where JDG are really going to want to take over.
And I think assault angles as well is fair to say for JDG, right? Like, there are so many different angles you have to watch in these fights, in the skirmishes you're talking about, because BLG can get picked apart.
Yeah, I mean, just so much mobility, right? So many different ways to jump over walls, play with Fog of War. So things like the Vision game are going to be so crucial here, especially for BLG when they want JDG right in front of them and they need to see where they are. Or, you know, the possibility of those flanks, the possibility of like a Lee Sin, you know, kick flash coming from behind you, or an explosive cask being thrown from somewhere really can just divide up their team. So a lot of it's going to come down to that. And I feel like it's great when we have what are the two best team fighting teams in the league going head to head with two compositions that want to scrap.
I mean, BLG, it was a series against top esports, ending Elk with a pentakill and 16k damage. On as well with the beautiful engage that ended it all. Deserves credit through and through. Yagao having an insane series. Shun and Bin have been instrumental to their success too. As BLG this year, I said it before, guys, if you're wondering what's at stake, I'll tell you a little bit of a story. BLG throughout the year have not been able to trump over JDG. It's been 2-3 in round 4 in double elim in spring. It was 1-3 versus JDG in spring finals. It was 1-3 at the MSI finals versus Jingdong as well. Regular season in both spring and summer, BLG have not been able to beat this Jingdong gaming unit. Here for a spot at Worlds, for the first ever spot this year at Worlds, as we are way ahead of the curve. It's BLG versus JDG to see if BLG can end the curse against their new rivals, or if JDG remains solid to head towards that golden road and lock in their place in finals, in top 2 at Worlds, and into a championship again.
I'm really looking at, like I said, kind of mids coming into today. This is actually going to be the 21st time, like 21st series, where Knight and Yagao have played against each other since they've come into the LPL. Not counting things like the Masi Cup, NEST, but hell, that makes the number even more ridiculous. If you're just counting LPL and international competition, 21st series up against each other. I mean, hell, you think back to last year where they were in a similar position. Upper bracket final, then both made it to the grand final. Of course, Yagao getting the best of Knight that time, but these two, just such a storied history now. LeBlanc versus Ear, a matchup where Knight going to want to be aggressive, going to want to find avenues to get ahead. You expect a lot of violence.
You really do. As Yagao, as you said, part of that team fighting unit that BLG have built towards. Also, Lyric, to mention, things like range for the Azir and Ezreal. It's going to be fun to see how it plays out as they try and avoid some of those pivoting angles that this composition of JDG is going to do so well. Lyric, just quickly on the story before we go any further, before we start talking a little bit more about the 2v2 that's going to end in a dredge line, we all know. Yagao and Knight, by the way, both their first MSI coming through. Yagao and Knight both hopping on that in 2023 this year. World's number 2 for both Knight and Yagao. 2 LPL championships each. Knight has not picked up an LPL championship out of those other 3 that he's attended. It's funny that these guys grew up together, and right now they're pretty much hitting the exact same accolades apart from a championship here and there.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, they've just been going toe-to-toe. Ever since really 2020, despite the fact that they played against each other, 2019, 2018 spring, things like that. Really, since 2020, these two have just been the kind of the gold standard of what it means to be a mid laner in the LPL, and kind of looking at other lanes, right? We can already see now BLG doing a nice job of finding some early trades. When you have things like Ezreal on one side, Braum on the other, you don't really expect too much heavy trading coming through, but BLG really wanting to be aggressive, and JDG going to be getting the better of it so far.
Ruler is 14-1 on Xayah. I'm assuming that's just in the LPL, but hot damn, I know they're a winning team, Lyric, but that is a scoreline as Bin on Renekton, on Nautilus, I guess hits the same note.
It makes sense that all these are so high, right? I mean, BLG only lost one series in the regular season, and it was 2 JDG, so we have a lot of high win rates as Elk. Flash going to need to come out so early.
Oh, it's matched though by On. Ruler getting aggressed on as the root comes back, but they're getting so low to continue this Clasm as Elk is looking for it. He has Flash available.
Ooh.
Mystic Shot hits, and Missing is close to dying, but holds onto his Summoner.
And this is what, BLG and JDG are able to deliver. Now Kanavi, we're going to see if he finds it. Safeguard might not be up yet, or just waiting for Elk to come a bit more forward.
Shun spotted out. He's looking to Arctic Assault in, but again, looking for Kanavi as well, it seems, as over the wall he's seen. He's waiting, and Sonic Wave does connect. He wants to take the Q onto Elk, so he walks back in range, but that gives Shun time as Dredgeline flashed away from Kanavi with a big mistake, and Shun in the right place at the right time.
I'm a little bit surprised, throwing down the ward, safeguarding, not even towards his AD carry. Does mean he has to blow the Flash at the end of the day, and now BLG just coming out ahead in all the trading we've seen on bot side so far, but we can see it being equalized a little bit with what's happening in mid lane. Small CS lead for Knight, and definitely getting the better of that last trade, but he's going to need to do more to make up for some of the summoners already seen being traded in bot side. Actually, I guess JDG didn't blow any summoners, right? They were very patient. It was BLG aggressively blowing summoners. Yeah,
I mean, Flash, Ignite down, Heal down from Elk. So in the grand scheme of things, considering that wave didn't crash in, maybe it's not the worst, as Knight versus Yagao is where we turn our new focus, with Knight just setting up a massive wave into this mid lane Azir. And already you can see that Knight is showing us why this LeBlanc has been respect banned, as Lyric, you know what's going to happen next.
Yeah, 369, he's angling for it. Shun's not far, though.
The body slam, isn't it? That's what we have to wait for, as that damage is huge with Grasp available. Kanavi in, Tempest, Cripple. Bin getting close to getting 369, but Kanavi makes sure he doesn't. First blood over to Lee Sin, and after bot side, that is a warm reward for JDG.
And having that control ward coming in clutch so we can ward hop to it, right? Didn't have the flash up if that one wasn't there. So they do find first blood, and we were hitting on it for JDG, wanting to find the early gold lead. A lot of it going to have to come from mid-jungle, and they're doing it separately. I mean, Kanavi just working towards his side lane so far. Knight locked in that 1v1. And I wonder if JDG might try to use some of the pressure that they're finding in jungle to set up for an early dragon, because we can see Kanavi heading back to this side of the map right now.
And they know that Shun is probably going to be here as well. Again, all those wards towards topside to spot out the Raptor camps down, Lyric. And that naturally, Shun probably will be pathing towards this lane as well. So for JDG, information gathered, while wards on the other side for BLG aren't really there. Jungler in MIA right now, as Kanavi was just getting that topside first blood, and now walking down himself. Can Shun really do anything as he tries to pop his head in?
We're going to see. He's definitely going to find out where Kanavi is, try and get a ward down. And, I mean, he doesn't have the ability to do much unless he looks for a gank mid, which he's going to go for.
I mean, Knight wanted to get a bit greedy. He did distortion forward, but he's now level 6. However, that is on cooldown. But he's too fast to get away from Shun, who pops his little head in after the gank.
I like that Shun ends up looking mid, try and get the reset available for Yagao. He's going to be able to do that one. Also prevents if JDG were going to try and end up looking for any kind of like early cheeky Drake with the fact that they bought and mid pressures. Missing is fine. Kanavi not far away.
Yep. As you said, about the Dragon. Kanavi is in position to start this one up. Remember, he did get first blood, so back with a longsword and a ruby crystal as we go back towards topside. Just waiting for Bin to pop the ulti, but he's holding onto it for a little bit of a while. There we go. Explosive cast doesn't send Bin into the turrets. Meanwhile, we go back down here. It's 3v2 for the time being, but Kanavi is going to be the backup to bring on in. The feathers will fly, but no root down. As Missing's almost dead. BLG thinking about going forward, but concussive blow stops it as now with the ghost to get away. Missing going to be rooted out. He flashes eventually. Holding onto those summoners was a lifeline for JDG's 2v2. As Kanavi getting into the thick of it, threatens for more. Elk is so close to going down as Ruler has his flash available. A root in to get the kill, and he does! With his dying breath, Kanavi can't save him, but he sets up for a double on his AD.
The summoner difference, Missing still having that flash to get away, survives on a sliver of HP, and now Ruler picking up 2 of those kills. Shun was the one who got, the one on the side of BLG, and now a wave going to be denied from Elk too. So definitely JDG coming out better off the end of that exchange. And now look, 2-0-2 on the Lee Sin, 2-1-1 on the Xayah. JDG are feeling good. And we're going to see the replay of how it all went down because I like the Kanavi leaning towards mid. That's where, his prio is and like the aggression that comes up from LeBlanc. And BLG find an opportunity to find a gank on this bottom lane. Once again, I was incredibly surprised that JDG are being so patient with the summoners they find, but it's on here who finds the initial hook. Elk even flashing in, but missing just too fast with the fingers. But Kanavi with the Sonic Wave finds the first. And then I love the confidence from JDG to run this one down. In my mind, I'm thinking, Ruler, you are definitely going to go down here, but gets enough feathers down to pull them back and find the kill before he does.
That safeguard on Missing, by the way, that's what kept him alive, because he got autoed by Elk. That last auto would have got the kill onto the JDG support. Yeah. So, again, that small fight has just now changed the dynamic of the game. That Kanavi hovering towards bot side has led to success, 2-0-2. But Ruler now as well, with his sick play, sets up for a gold lead of about 1k for JDG as we now look towards Herald to potentially do it all again.
Yeah, looking across, I mean, we have ults up across the board. Only On doesn't have it, so that actually might be an advantage for JDG if their bot lane gets here in time.
Jumping onto On first, no depth charge available as Winter's Bite, but Missing has his ult. That's the difference. Elk caught out, he can't get out fast enough. And so Yagao with his Empress Divide sends away JDG as BLG will find themselves a cheeky Herald on the backside, but it costs their AD carrier. Kill goes over tonight, and Jing Dong still continue charging forward in this early game.
And yeah, Elk just being caught out. The difference in certain things like those ults, right? Missing having that one available. I believe it was Damwon who, again, used to just like hover around mid lane, get their ult on support first, and then move over to those Herald fights. And that's when the world really learned just kind of the difference that one's able to make. And now Static Shiv picked up by Night, Gorge Drinker by Kanavi, getting some incredibly early items online. We're going to see how it happens because BLG actually ended up getting here first, so wanting to try to find some trades on tonight. But we see, very good job. Kanavi finds the kick in. We have the Braum ult coming out. And then if it wasn't for the Emperor's Divide, I believe JDG would have been able to find more.
And props to 369. The flash body slams will start it off as On is coming in red hot, but unfortunately, Ruler, without burning the summoner this game, has managed to escape so many terrible situations.
And I don't know what it is, how JDG just lives so rent-free in BLG's head. Like you said, 6 times so far they played this year. JDG won every time. Maybe find another kill and just get themselves even closer to making it a potential 7th.
Well, as they walk up towards Dragon, this early game is going to continue to snowball ahead as Shun wasn't spotted out, but he knows what's going on down in this pit. Unable to do anything, it seems like with Knight pressuring off Yagao, Dragon is just going to be taken and give the first one over to JDG for bonus stats.
And I love that this game is already delivering exactly what you'd expect.
Yeah.
You know, I went into the lab earlier, walked up to the database, and I saw, these teams, as you'd expect, the 2 Bloodies teams in the LPL, both 1 and 2 in champion kills per minute. G being slightly over 1, JDG being slightly under, and so far, I mean, 6 kills already in this first 10 minutes, faster than a lot of the games we've had so far in playoffs. It's been great.
But again, it's a great showcase. It's been like that all year as well.
Yeah, and it just goes to show, right? Both teams really want to prove themselves. And we've already pointed out items in favor of JDG. BLG are the ones that have the Herald, though. It's going to be hard to find an easy opportunity to use it. They're already getting pressured in both mid and bot. So top really might be the only place you can look, unless they're going to be able to get some kind of sneaky gank off with Shun, but Kanavi's been the one creating forward pressure this whole time.
He is spotted out as well, doesn't care that BLG see him. It's a sonic wave to threaten a potential dive, as Shun now just has to hover nearby. And look, it's this bottom lane as well, Lyric, as Depth Charge is going to be used on the Ruler, True Shot Barrage, but it's avoided by the Feathers flying out as On engages, but the Feathers right
TP
behind BLG's bottom lane. They arcade shift in, but you're right, BLG are unrelenting as the ulti over the wall slows them down at the very least. Bin needs a kill here as the flash over the wall into missing, but Ruler still with flash himself makes it hard to get in with the Dragon's Rage out as well. BLG committed so much, JDG are like invincible.
Yeah, they committed every member down to that bot lane. We just got flash from Shun. We got a ton of ults across the board. Knight even still going to be able to clear the wave in mid and time. 369 getting played top side. JDG gaining so much off this field play.
I mean, again, BLG might not be hitting the mark, but you have to be real as Yagao. Ulti dodged away by Knight. It continues. He goes into the Mimic here as following through Kanavi to save the day, but Bin is rotating down, flashes over. He's sick of it. But Kanavi plays it in. Knight jumps back out. He's missing. JDG
look at all this mobility.
Toying with the dance, my pretties, dance.
They even just pulled out more summoners, right? They pulled out Bin's flash, not having to really use anything to get away from it. He was losing even more CS in top side. He's not behind 369 because, of course, he did have a lead when he TP'd down from top, but it's still like you're losing so much on the map. Losing so many summoners, and we're really seeing the annoyance of the Gragas, Lee Sin, LeBlanc, Braum, and just their ability to kind of wiggle around any situation they get themselves into.
Oh, it's so painful to watch from BLG's angle. I mean, resource after resource thrown out. The Herald, yes, dropped, but Lyric, the gold is still in JDG's favor. 369 is pushing turret against the Renekton. Knight is destroying lane. And that 2v2 has been so eventful against BLG that this 0-2 and Ezreal pales at the moment a bit in comparison to this one item Xayah on Ruler that is now, we know, set up to carry another game.
I mean, we even know, right, he went cold first, so he's even going to have, like, more gold on top of that. I love the 369. Yeah. Feeling ambitious enough to just walk through the jungle, but look at the vision they got in top side. And even before that, Knight was covering from mid lane. So they knew exactly everything that was going on around top, which is why 369 was able to play the way he was. And now they're just going to be able to keep it going. So for JDG now, just waiting for these next neutral objectives to spawn. Herald's going to be up pretty soon. We have the next Dragon in a minute and a half. So if JDG can stagger those into one another, they're really just going to be able to push this game further at such an insane speed.
And we talked about the early game for both these teams being a bit of an identity. They both snowball in as Bin going to try something, but again, pretty hard against the Gragas right now, especially without your first item. But Lyric, it's been early games that snowball 89 to 92% of the time on average for both of these guys. So once they hold an early game lead, they run with it. And as we were saying at the start of the show, BLG, it's been a bit of a crux as Bin is used to this. Kanavi visiting topside on the regular with the Tempest Cripple, but he can't finish the job yet as Bin buys a bit more time, but a Sonic Wave still connects, and Kanavi, of course, will follow it through. 369 absorbs the damage, and yet again, another right thing in the early game for Jing Dong.
And pushing in bot side, I was looking at the minimap the whole time too. Knight was kind of using distortion over that Raptor wall to keep trying to put pressure on Yagao. Because of the play they made topside though, they are going to have to go for a reset. So it looks like BLG acknowledging that they've had to lose bot, are just going to start sending their bot lane duo up here now. Honor already here, Elk in mid lane. So at least not going to try to not allow JDG to get this objective. But look, 369 TP's in.
And look, TP is not available on Bin, who just respawned. So even though Herald goes down with a Sonic Wave or at least a kick, something could happen. But they've found Knight with a depth charge, trying to run out. He's clipped on the back end. And now Elk has an opportunity as finally BLG sink their fangs in for what feels like the first time this game.
BLG punishing the fact that JDG were trying to pinch them in that play, and Knight left by himself. BLG have a ton of CC to play with, and thanks to that, they're actually going to end up picking up a mid lane turret. So BLG not only get their first kill, they get their first turret, and slowly trying to claw back within reach for gold.
And so remember, Lyric, you talked about the comps at the start of this game, you know, a bit of front to back, an easier comp to execute, if you will. BLG also getting a dragon here to stall out the game. And so we get further towards that condition where people like Yagao Elk can weave their shots through this heavy front line and play out a game on a more standard state. So at least for JDG, despite having the early game, we know that due to the win condition, due to the comps, BLG, they're not really out until they're like 6-7k gold out and losing inhib turrets at 20 minutes.
Yeah, and hell, I was just saying a few minutes ago, right, if JDG get Herald, if JDG get Dragon, they could just start snowballing the game here. But because of this pick, that doesn't happen. Knight trying to come in, doesn't expect on in the brush, gets CC down, great dredge line, great ultimate, doesn't manage to escape thanks to the Ignite. And then now JDG going to have to back off. You're even missing some cooldowns from the previous top lane gank where 369 and Kanavi had killed the Renekton. So, funnily enough, despite the fact that they got that kill top and ended up getting turret right, some of the tempo they lost on that play gave BLG the window to set up for the play on Herald, and then Knight's misstep led to the Dragon. So great sequence of events from BLG.
And so let's just take a quick look at items from BLG at that point as well, because we have first item across the board for everyone apart from On. Elk with the Trinity Force here on the Ezreal, and now starts building towards the second. For JDG, we're talking about first items for a little bit, as they are still the ones with the gold lead here in this game. But about half an item, now full item, through mid for Knight. So there is still threat there as a Night Harvester picked up for the side lane presence. The CTP's in Lyric, and JDG want to open this map up by taking mid.
Putting a lot of pressure on Elk.
It's okay for now. At the very least, Shun hovering as well, but turret's going to go down.
Yeah, they do a nice job. You can see where Yagao and Bin are on the minimap to where they know 4 members of JDG are on mid, 369 not showing on a side lane. They have to end up giving that one away in the end. And now we're at a point to where BLG, like you said, getting a lot of their first items online. JDG, they've had items. I also want to highlight the fact that 369 did go tank, despite the fact that I thought he'd go AP, because it feels like 369 just always that guy who wants to try and style on you and just, one-shot you when he's on the Gragas. But I think this kind of lends itself to, giving themselves a stable front line and being able to take some of these fights in the mid-game much better. So I like that one coming through. To where regardless, the longer this goes on, you look at the consistent DPS that BLG have, it's going to be pretty hard, but they have to be able to get there because you said they're fine as long as they can stay within like 6-7k gold. Well, right now they're down to 4, so they don't have much room left to kind of play with.
No, it was optimism at least to keep BLG, I guess, honest to where their game state is. But the honest truth is that JDG are still the ones in lead. They're still the ones with control in this game. I mentioned 2-item LeBlanc there for Knight, but Ruler has now also picked up Navori Quick Blades before Elk is able to get his second item. So still an advantage down towards that bottom side, as it's also CS that's bringing that into a nice gold advantage for JDG. And as we said, it's already started out perfectly. This series could not be a bigger banger to kick us off. As now into the mid-game Lyric, I want to see where the action pursues, because JDG are just taking over this topside jungle, giving 369 a bit of breathing room and clearing out vision as they go.
Yeah, at least not finding this one ward from BLG. So BLG going to be able to keep up some, at least some level of consistent information with missing being around this part of the map. And for BLG, that's really the name of the game right now, right? As long as they aren't pressuring anything like a Baron, they're nowhere near something like Soul Point, get a defensive vision line down and wait for BLG to overstep and try and find a pick from there.
JDG trying to entice them into one on the top side, but Bin not going to bring in the rest of BLG as missing Hang's back. But again, that vision being played around with the control ward that he sits on. No one's nearby. If BLG ran into this by accident, it'd be trouble. As Yagao, he's going to lose his, not crown, but rather lose the shielding from Shifting Sands. As Knight continues hovering over the sideline Lyric, this LeBlanc is chunky right now. Yagao's been suffering the onslaught all game long.
And this is one of the things that JDG are just doing so well, right, is kind of pulling BLG across the map. It's even allowing for times when, like, we saw earlier, once when Ruler was resetting, missing just pushing in for vision by himself. Because Knight 369 are putting up so much pressure on sides that you're constantly seeing where members like Bin, Yagao, and Shun are.
Here comes On, though. Wait for the engage hook to come through. It's what killed Knight before. Distortion forward. On thinking about getting over the wall.
Minimap.
Ping's already
Other
there.
members of JDG.
They know that they're pivoting for a play. It's like an intuition. On, caught out, dredge line there, concussive blows. He has to flash over the wall as Kanavi was now within range. JDG, I'm not sure if that was vision, Lyric, but it must have been either the deep ward or just intuition.
I also think it's because Knight was the one applying any pressure on the map, so BLG should be looking for the answer there. Is this gonna turn into anything, you think?
He's got Jack Show the protein shake. Body slams there, but Ben should be able to survive this. It's a slow burn down. A slice and dice gets him out of there, but 369 takes 0 damage from this Renekton right now as JDG pick up the dragon on the bottom side. So a win-win throughout the map continuously for JDG.
Yeah, and BLG needing to use this window to desperately clear out some of the vision control that JDG had been able to gain. I wonder if Knight and Kanavi are going to be a little bit more bold and trying to set up for a dive here.
What a pain. What an absolute pain. Even able to take out the control ward as well. Kanavi taking out jungle camps as we go through. Starting to build a CS lead by his own right. I mean, again, JDG, it's that individual skill so far, Lyric. Even though BLG have showcased it too, JDG has just been what this whole year's been about. It is a super team through and through. Each player does their part through and through. And even in his first game, it's just skill.
Yeah, it's only game 1, so I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But I am just quite shocked at, the amount of control that JDG have been able to assert so far. Again, BLG not down and out, a few thousand gold down, but I think they've done a nice job to mostly stabilize.
But Missing trying to save the day on to Ruler. He doesn't burn anything afterwards. True Shot Barrage as Ruler holds onto the summoners, but not the ulti. How can you burn a summoner out of this man? As Sonic Wave connects, he runs into the fray. Kanavi playing it dangerous as Ruler heads into the front line versus 3. He picks up another kill, and I mean, talking about class. It's Knight in the side lane. It's Ruler in these plays. JDG continues sipping on the wine.
His Featherstorm timings are always so good, and we can see in the left-hand corner.
Oh my god. Yagao over the wall sends Kanavi, but now Elk's in trouble. Sonic Wave connects. He has to flash heal, running away from 2 members. JDG are an army. These guys worth 300 soldiers, as maybe not yet, as 369 might be in trouble. Kanavi already dead, but Knight jumps into the fray onto Yagao. He's looking for his next target, trying to auto him to death, but Knight will drop before Yagao joins him in the grave. And just like that, as I talk up JDG, they go way too far to test BLG.
Ben even TP'd behind Ruler in the mid lane, so you were saying, what does it take to get this man summoners? Well, Ben figured it out, Ruler having to flash and ghost away. Luckily, he didn't go down too, but BLG, nice, force on. They see JDG wanting to aggress in their jungle, they look for the big play, they find it, and now, not only the kills, but again, I feel like some of the summoners that won't be up for the next dragon fight are going to be so important as Yagao. Being a little bit cheeky here, JDG were hoping to punish him, but it's that Emperor's Divide pushing him into the other members. It looked bad at first because you're pushing them right into your AD carry with Shun, not really off to the angle to be able to defend. But still, you're man down. We can see on the minimap, like I said, Ruler being forced away by Ben. And then sure, Knight comes in, he's able to find one, but nice job, a bodyguard by Shun to allow Yagao to survive and find another kill.
No chains to get past that big Sejuani, so Yagao gets himself into the game in a firm grasp with a kill now picked up as Missing says no to the True Shot Barrage, but Lyric, we come back to live. JDG still with the gold lead, but they have to now entice the Baron as Knight just autoed, and that tickled quite a bit for BLG. Oh, ulti comes through. Hang on, we're not done yet. Onto Ruler this time. He has no flash, no ghost available. Ben jumps on the back line as he's kicked away. Kanavi saving the day, but BLG in a choke is the root. Oh, Ruler does it again. He's getting low with Missing at the hell, but it's another root. A root again. Shun jumps in, but his whole team is dead. To kill the king, you must sacrifice everything.
And Kanavi starting up by saving the day. Knight comes in and deals the damage. And now they only might be 3 members strong, but JDG are going to be able to turn this into a Baron.
Insanity. I mean, LCK fans have just been living it up having this guy over there. What an absolute joy to watch him play throughout this year. In his debut year in the LPL. We'll watch again. I know Knight had a big hand in that play as well. Does JDG will have a big hand in this first game? Getting Baron on 4? No, Lyric. It's going to be all 5 members.
Yeah, doing a nice job waiting around. I'm not expecting it. Trying to throw that True Shot Barrage up towards top side. And now, perfect time. Dragon's up in 40 seconds. You're going to be able to use these Baroned up minions to gain prio. We're going to see here BLG knowing what they want to force to play because they got the summoners from Ruler before. So I love it. The all-in comes out. You get the ulti. And then here's where everything looked bad until the kick comes out from Kanavi. Ends up saving Ruler's life. So he's able to keep getting off DPS and taking people like that out. But Knight coming out on the back end finds the root. Great feathers from Ruler too. And then just having enough burst to delete the rest of BLG.
He rooted 5 people. And he did it again. The rest were rooted because Navori Quick Blades exists. So even though Ruler goes down, I mean, again, absolute insanity with the angle, but also BLG walking into that spot, playing with fire, it feels like. As now with Baron in hand, with the gold lead in hand, at 27 minutes, this Dragon will lead to Soul Point. As JDG look to push through the Sun Turret in mid after moving with that last mountain. This Knight continues to be a threat, and Lyric, at this point, now it's about assaulting some of these side lanes and getting this inner mid. As Yagao jumps in, might have found missing. Everyone from BLG pounces. Knight tries to get Yagao in the midst of 5 people. He has to flash his dredge line. Actually ran into a minion wave, but Knight steps back on up. Explosive Cask is there. JDG playing from angles, but BLG are the ones who find the pickers on. Continues looking for more.
Yeah, just tickling him for now. And JDG still feeling confident because they have this Baron buff, and Knight going to be able to do a lot of the heavy lifting now. I still think they got to be a little bit cautious considering that 369 doesn't have that explosive cast. But the cavalry coming in.
They're not being careful, Lyric. Not at all. Onto Kanavi now. Lucas 369 body slams in. Yagao's one who's TP'd in, but he doesn't have Emperor's Divide. It's got to be a slow play from BLG, but Bin going too far forward, gets rooted up and dives the Ruler. Knight jumps in all the way to the back. He teleports on the face of On. As 369 never says die. Must be James Bond as Ruler. Ult under turret. This guy is a psychopath. Kanavi finishes the job. But this guy's got gusto as into the Gore Drinker. He'll still die, but JDG are like suicide bombers at this point. One goes down, another to replace, and BLG just can't catch a break.
That was a 4v5. JDG simply do not care. And now On might be up in 6 seconds, but I think they should be able to find the end.
God damn, the class from this game number 1. From JDG members as a 5-man unit. BLG don't know what hit them. Or maybe they do, Lyric. It's been a year of dealing with this. As for game number 1 at the very least, JDG kicked us off with a very familiar bang.
Yeah, and just great performances across the board. Ruler, you were highlighting a lot of. He was doing the 5-man roots coming through. Knight, I think, another exceptional performance. Like, he was the one dishing out all the damage. I loved his pressure on the map. But like I said, Kanavi, one of the people who really didn't, wasn't a bad series, but didn't have, the Kanavi series you expected in that last one against LNG. Tarzan definitely was the better performing jungler. This game, a man on a mission. The early game was beautiful, creating all the action. Even the one team fight where we were praising Ruler and he had that insane performance. If it wasn't for Kanavi, he would have been dead. He would have been dead. It was Kanavi finding the angles. It was Kanavi and Knight honestly just skirting around all the plays BLG were making. And I remember that one point in mid-game where BLG were trying their hardest, but just dodging out on everything. It was so beautiful to see, it's crazy, man. I didn't expect JDG to come into game 1 at what looks like 120% performance because they're firing on all cylinders.
And again, when you saw what you saw against LNG, it's that LPL classic. I know Weibo, a team called it this split, and top esports are as well, where they play to the levels of their opponent. They can lose to a Rare Atom or an Anyone's Legend or whoever you want to put down at the bottom, Ultra Prime. But then they can smash out teams like JDG, for example. But JDG here in the series, game 1, they launched to the level of their opponents. It was really nice to see, and considering that you talk about the tools that led them there, outside of Kanavi and Knight, I want to mention 369, I want to mention Missing, very big engage tools, or at least counter-engage tools, that always caught BLG off guard. And I feel like that's another thing that we talked about coming into the series, that some of those tools need to be banned away, i.e. 369's Gragas, that is, I think, needs to be respected again.
Yeah, it's going to be hard, right? And even if you don't ban it out, just making sure you have your answers and you're not the ones picking into it, I think is a good call because I think it's best champion by a mile. He is just different on this pick. And I got to confess something. Coming into the day, I did predict BLG to 3-0 this matchup, and a lot of people might think, Lyric, you sound crazy. What are you thinking? But I don't know. I just have a feeling deep in my stomach that whoever wins today could potentially lose what you would expect would be the rematch in the grand final. Not to disrespect LNG, because again, they pushed JDG to 5 games, but it's JDG throwing out my prediction out the window. And like we said, they are looking to win everything this year. That is the expectation you have of this roster. And at least in game 1, they're still keeping true with it.
I did say BLG 3-1, by the way, so I'm not going to say anything, but
We're
I'm
both
still
guilty.
in it.
We're both guilty.
Well, not yet, I'm not. I'm fine at the moment, bro. You know, like, I'm all good. You're just the one in the bin, so don't worry about me. But look, you're not the only one. Again, everyone's seen BLG through this split. Everyone's seen what they're capable of, and even better than Spring, even better than MSI, I feel like is what we'd say about this current form of BLG. But hey, in game one, they were outed. And people, like Kanavi with a bit of a jungle diff. I feel like 369 having such an easy lane. Kanavi was everywhere, by the way. Let's just mention that. He was bot about 100 times. He was top. He came through mid a couple of times. Like, Yagao was always threatened. I mean, this Lee Sin, that's what you want to see in the early game, Lyric. The proactivity was insane.
And I think of Kanavi's Lee Sin when I think of 2021. Because 2020, when you think of Kanavi, you think of the Graves, you think of the Kindred. I even still just associate those champions with him overall. But 2021, when JDG were faltering, was the year that he had to lean on the Lee Sin, and he was using it to make a lot of big plays and really taking over. And I remember Dagda was just always raving about Kanavi's Lee Sin. Kanavi's Lee Sin. You got to see this play from Kanavi's Lee Sin. And just another day of why he's showing that you feel that way when he gets his hands on this champion. And it also holds true to what we were kind of projecting before the series started, was that for JDG, but even both these teams, like, when they find leads, they are so good at closing out a game that I like the draft has, you know, an early game focus with things like the Lee Sin, LeBlanc, and Gragas coming through.
I mean, again, when you see these kind of drafts on maybe mid-tier teams or at least round one teams in the LPL playoffs, Eric, you'd be like, well, a little bit skeptical on how this is going to play out. It requires a high degree of execution. But when it's JDG, it's a very different beast as they lead our upper bracket finals here in the LPL. One step closer to being the first team in the world to lock in their world spot. At least it's going to be first or second seed. But we've still got a series to play out. So we'll go to a break and find out what Game 2 holds right after this.
A lot of plates over here, though. Oh, Dredgeline going wide, too. 369's taken despite this is a 2v3 that JDG are opting into. The dominance, they're on top of the equalizer. Here comes Missing over the top rope. And JDG, they give him the TKO. That's a huge moment of JDG step up and the charm on the back end. All of that lead that LNG had is dust in their fingers.
Oh, what's going on? I mean, they're still waiting. They've got 15 seconds on the buff, but surely Weibo just repeat what they've been doing, but with no shine. Maybe tanking is a little bit more difficult. 10 seconds on the Elder.
10 seconds, they're looking for it. Shurima Stop! They found it! It's now ultra light though. These health bars are so damn low, but Zickin's got himself the Dragon's War, and that's it. It's over.
Uzi now joining up as well. JJ waiting for that ulti. Dredgeline out in. Bobo flashed on, Magnet Storm, huge! Four-man face sealed! Cream comes out of nowhere. Puppy separates as well. You mentioned it, Kitty. Shanji gets them away. As OMG now pile on the rest. Uzi's down, Arla's out. Cream and Aki, bring it back!
That's a great little sign for Top Esports. That's a sign that they can start this barrel off. Look how fast they burn through the objective. Bin has to be the one to go on in. There's a minion wave in the mid lane. BLG could maybe just try and opt for that instead, but On finds everyone. The Magnus Storm tries to deny the engage. Featherstorm to keep Elk alive as Tien becomes his target. Jackie Love, though, turning it around. Shun is there, threatening the carries as Wayward goes down. Shun with the aftershock keeps himself alive. Rookie and Jackie Love live on as Wayward is cut down, but Jackie Love finds another one. Rookie is on in. Jackie Love going in. The carries live on. And Top Esports, they've got the mojo online. BLG do get that priority, Q3, but a great hook from Mark keeps him safe as they find an engage onto Tien instead. This is huge. Tien forced the flash, looking for the Magnet Storm, but punted against the wall again. Turns golden as On gets both of the carries in. He gets Rookie in! On, you magnificent beast! And now the rest of the fight is all down to Jackie Love, a hook in from Mark. Can Jackie carry as a triple comes out from Elk? And the feathers, are they enough? He's into the GA. It's a quadra for Elk. Jackie tries to put him in the grave, but there's no stopping him. The king of the forest.
fight. Guess this is getting old now. You said what you wanted, you got it every time. I'd always ask for more. You know the words that make me feel fine. And something feels so good when I'm with you. Do you think that we can move into each other's space now without a change in mood, without us playing games now? It's you that I've wanted, you make my heart smile. My eyes are begging for more. The way that you move got me feeling wild. 'Cause something feels so good when I'm with you. When I'm with you. So good, so good. You take my hand, my head spins around. You're in my bed, so baby, let's get high. So good, so good, so good. So good, so good. 'Cause something feels so good when I'm with you.
So don't you tell me about no.
我们其实打比赛之前很多天没打比赛嘛，然后我们就一直看他们的对面的比赛，然后我们一直训练保持状态吧。在我季后赛选选手的表现的话，其实很不错的，他能玩坦克，还能玩输出。然后我跟选选手对战的话，谁那个更主动一点吧。我们跟 BLG 现在有胜者组嘛，心态也是还是其实一样的，跟之前差不多。然后这次也是我们会拿下吧。这版本的话，其实现在打野想玩什么就玩什么吧，因为又能玩坦克，坦克英雄也是刷野很快，然后打架也不漏，然后输出英雄也是可以玩的，看个人的状态吧。其实我的话，应该队友需要什么玩什么吧。这一次我们如果夺冠的话，可以3连冠嘛，其实很幸福的一个夺冠。然后其实每个夺冠的其实很重要的，所以我们争取拿下吧。
Well, a three-peat he calls it, but it would be the start of the golden road. It would be getting close to doing the impossible that's never been done in the, 13 years of League of Legends history, Lyric. Every team has been searching for it. T1 came close to achieving it until they were denied, but again, no team has done it, and the golden road is what I speak of. I'm Asterix, I'm joined by Lyric, and game one was given over to JDG. The series ain't over yet, but JDG looking fantastic as Was it Kanavi pick up MVP, Lyric? I actually missed that one.
Of course, it was.
Okay.
It was Kanavi. It has to be Kanavi. He had a great game. We heard him just say in that interview, right? The winner between Min Shun is going to be the one who is more proactive. And on the Lee Sin this time around, you knew he'd be looking for proactivity. He found it from the early game. You know, ganking and covering for bot, ganking top, showing in mid multiple times, you know, looking to dive mid, walking to the enemy jungle. He seriously was just owning the whole map and protecting Ruler in one of the pivotal team fights, which I'd love if someone like photoshopped him as Mario and Ruler's Princess Peach in his arms, because it just felt fitting of the situation.
True. I mean, this blind monk was destroying. And it wasn't just at that bot side, it just wasn't around Ruler either. It was 369, as this is what opened the game to give him first blood and a heavy lead.
And he just kept running with it. And just the way they were skirting around a lot of the skill shots and a lot of the CC that they were putting up. I love that there you pointed out in game that, like, you know, that safeguard ends up saving missing because the auto ended up connecting, and then they just keep running it through. And it doesn't matter that the other members of JDG were, like, very willing to give up their lives because they trust that Kanavi would be able to clean up these kills, and then they'd start being able to transfer things into objectives.
So clean. I mean, just watching his play on this Lee Sin, it feels like every Lee main would be idolizing this guy, as in the 2v2s, in the 3v3s, it was all about him, especially in this early game. As you said, safeguarding his team, but more so kicking off this snowball that JDG ended up having a 5K gold lead at 15-20 minutes in the game. That felt so hard for BLG to deal with, Lyric, as you said. Princess Peach rescued once again, like every other member of the team.
Yeah, Kanavi really just... I mean, if he could keep this up, this is scary, right? Because Kanavi in top form is dangerous, and that's why he's won, you know, 3 LPL titles, why he's an MSI champion, why, you know, he not only won MSI in spring, but I can see what he's talking about with the 3P. He's probably talking about, like, splits, right? Because, hell, he won 2022 summer. Like, sure. He's just... If he wins a split, he's just racking up LPL splits now. Then it makes it scary for anyone. You know, not to get too ahead of myself, but even going into 2024.
But we are getting to the point where I know Kanavi, you know, is synonymous with JDG now, right? Like, in the short history, JDG have really become about him. As we know, his playstyle was like Kanavi and 4 wards at one point. You know, play around Kanavi, he will win us the game. That's always kind of been the mentality, at least the story that we've told in some of our broadcasts. But JDG in recent history, Lyric, are becoming the winningest team. We know the legacy of RNG, EDG exists. We know that, you know, IG, teams like OMG have been in the realm for a while. But when you look at recent history, I think those championships are going to keep adding up, as if they get towards finals again, regardless, they'll also be going to Worlds. They'll also be representing the region once more, and Kanavi will be taking the boys there. But for game number 2, I wanted to ask you, I assume BLG picked blue. I feel like this is the meta where, everyone always just picks blue because of the OP champ choice. What do you want to see coming through to this? What needs to change? And are you going to be banning Kanavi, or is it just too hard?
I wouldn't be surprised if, like, we see them go back to some of the bans we expected to come out, like, you know, things like the LeBlanc. Especially since you're swapping over to blue, you shouldn't be expected to have to ban certain champions. Like, we're thinking of the Kai'Sa, right? Because you should be, you know, very willing to pick that one up first rotation. So that's one of the big ones that jumps to mind. And then maybe see if Shun's willing to match with some of the early aggressive picks, because despite the fact I think both these teams are able to execute on, like, what we saw, right, BLG leaning into, like, front to back, and, like, if they were able to stay neutral and especially maintain, like, a nice vision line and can keep JG in front of them, I think that would have been fine. But the early game, I think, is too critical when you have 2 teams that are of this caliber, and when you have 2 teams that, you know, you can, like, can execute. So we're gonna need to see more presence, I think, coming from mid jungle, because Bin will do fine. Again, the bot lane is really influenced by jungle matchups, so that's where I want to go with it. And then, it's just seeing how BLG does, because funnily enough, you were just hitting on every team, just always picks the blue side. That's how it's been. JDG in their last series against LG, it was a red side affair. Teams quickly realized, wait, the red side's what's winning, and red side won 4 out of those 5 games. So I'm kind of curious to see how JDG do on red side, like, if this even bothers them at all. Who knows? Maybe they should put up a better showing and, like, kind of take some of their key learnings from their win against LNG.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, if you start winning on red side as well, or more importantly, you start getting what you want on red side for JDG, then you really change perspective of the series. But I think, importantly enough, Lyric, if we are just talking about picks and bans for this series as a whole, one thing I want to bring up to the surface is the Gragas. The Gragas felt impactful in the skirmishes. The Gragas at 369 has been banned against him before for good reason. That's one thing that needs to be highlighted. The LeBlanc for Knight as well, something that has also been banned against him for good reason. I feel like there are certain picks here that they got away with that maybe should be taken away. But then are you leaving up strong meta side picks? I mean, again, apples and oranges, I feel like, at this point.
Yeah, again, I'm hoping the LeBlanc one's covered. I'm hoping BLG don't need to ban Kai'Sa on blue. You take away the LeBlanc there. The Gragas, if you don't show top early, like, you can save that for a 4-5 ban. But the thing is, we need to remember in Game 1 draft, we had so many priority picks open because JDG just elected to target ban mid. They banned out the Annie. They banned out the Nico. You know, opting into those means you're leaving so much open. So we might end up in a scenario again where things like the Renekton, things like the Cassante make it through, and it feels so hard to have to pass those up. So I don't know if BLG, if you react to something like the Gragas just yet, because it's just one of those things, okay, you have to live with. And in the 1v1, you know, it's not going to cause you too much trouble. As long as the jungle matchup isn't as much of a disparity when Kanavi gets his hands on a Lee Sin and makes plays like that.
Well, as we get closer and closer, again, it's just, you know, throwing these questions into the works for a good reason, because it feels like for BLG, they still got picks that they wanted to. Like, Shun on Sejuani, not really a foreign affair, is it? Seeing Yagao on Azir, which historically hasn't been his best champion, but it's definitely been something he's been willing to pick out. So I think as we go through the draft here with BLG electing to go on blue side after their loss, we'll have to see what the new priority is, as Xayah is banned against Ruler after game number 1. BLG took that personally.
Yeah, so being more flexible. This was another thing we saw that LNG started doing in their series against JDG after the first couple of games. So teams learning quickly. You don't let Ruler have the champion. He's a world skin on. And now, changing up the bans completely, even taking away the Tristana. I wonder if BLG are going to be confident in taking the LeBlanc, because even though we're highlighting it's like, oh, BLG, what do you do is the LeBlanc problem? We highlighted before the series, right, that LeBlanc is one of the champions for us who are casting in 2020 and watching in 2020. It's like synonymous with him throughout his career and the performances he was putting up. So maybe BLG are going to be willing to pick that one up this time around, or maybe they even just elect into like a higher pressure mid laner, right? Things like the Jace instead of the Azir, like in game 1.
As Renekton gets banned away, top side now being looked at by BLG. It's interesting enough because 369, it was the Gragas in game 1 against the Renekton, but this time around, they're not going to give 369 a champion that historically he's also been very great on. As there was that question about LeBlanc, it's banned away against Yagao this time around to see if those historics come back through. As Kaiser first pick Lyric, now to see if JDG want to get a strong 2 on the other side. Maokai Jace is open. I'm just going to throw that in there.
Exactly. Maokai Jace is where I think you'd expect to go. JDG have been one of the big teams like banning lots of Maokai and not playing it a whole lot. So we'll see how comfortable they are with it. But I like this. You have to take away the Rakan. It's Mystic's most played champion too. But in my mind, like, you think of On's whole career and you think of the Rakan. So not only are you like, is it a great pick for Missing, you're also taking it away from a guy who it is his signature champion.
Well, at least you add another engaged tool as the Rel with Kaiser Lyric, one of the strongest 2v2s in the bot lane at the moment. On top of that, you know, they don't pick the Maokai up on JDG's side. So there you go. It's pretty cut and dry here for BLG, picking 3 very strong meta champions, while JDG have to readjust to see if they want to pick jungle here as response.
I was going to say, a lot of, like, you could question, oh, like, why reveal the Rel flex so early? Which I guess technically you're not, right? Because you can also still play Maokai in the bot lane. But Shun hasn't played Rel yet, so I would expect it to go bot and just have Shun pick up that Maokai. Despite the fact that JDG haven't leaned on it, they take the Maokai away, which does lead to the Sejuani. So it's going to be a bit of a more interesting game. I definitely expect the pace to be a bit slower, not by much, because we know in terms of just the lanes themselves, they are incredibly aggressive. Like we saw down in that 2v2 in game 1, they wanted to find blood. But now for JDG, it's going to be taking away some of the comfortable mid laners from Yagao. Now, really all the S-tier meta picks are off the table. And I wonder if they either ban Ahri last because it's something that Yagao is comfortable pivoting to. It doesn't really fit with the Maokai too well. Or you just opt into banning out, you know, another top laner from Bin. So I think it depends a lot on if JDG are going to want to end up looking for that Cassante on 4 or not.
Well, that's a good pick as well. Cassante, as you said. Ruler's Ezreal taken away, though. Not going to get the champion he has a skin on, as I noticed when you were casting the other day. It was either you or Munchables mentioning that he just wouldn't pull out the Ezreal skin of his own. As I will say, with that gone away, we are slimming down the 80 carry pool. Varus, Ashe feel like some of the A-tier picks left remaining. As Nara actually gone instead, Lyric, and not going to be towards any of those mid picks, as Ziggs goes on top.
Yeah, and actually banning out the Gnar, I'm a little bit surprised. Like, typically you see like something like a Gwen ban if they wanted to go for a Cassante here. Or in another option, you know, that JDG can always end up going into. They might end up saving counter pick for top, considering that BLG haven't shown interest that you are already seeing the 80 carry, so it makes a lot more sense. And now we get to see with where Ruler wants to end up. Varus, I think, fits the composition. You already have the Jace coming through, provides even more CC to play with. and they're just going to go with it. So now for BLG, I mean, Cassante actually is open for your side if you want to end up going with it, having that strong engage, and then looking towards the mid laner. Like I said, that's a bit of the peculiar one, because Ahri being really the only other thing we know that Yagao would be incredibly comfortable bringing out here. It could be nice to have another AD option in mid lane, since you have the Maokai, and you also could always go an AP version of the Kai'Sa, but it looks like they are just going to stick with Comfort at the end of the day.
Yeah, okay. Yagao, Ahri, as you said, Comfort. Bin picking Cassante, one of the OP picks, as you were talking about, that 369 would probably hover over if it's left here, but 369 has played Ornn more times than the Cassante over this split, Lyric. It's been fun watching this guy, again, just bring out a champion that people have hovered on the verge of playing or not. So right now, it could just be tank v tank in the top side, as Bin on Cassante rounds out the composition, but will 369 do what he's expected to do?
I fully expect the Ornn to come out. We still have things like the Gwen that are available, though, if you wanted to go towards that. And, I mean, would still function very well in the 5v5. He already hovered things like the Kennen being available. But I think having a bit more frontline just fits the system that JDG have been playing all split long. And you said, I mean, this guy knows these matchups so well. He's been doing it. He's been doing it for months. There it is.
Yep.
So a ton of engage coming through for JDG, which is a little bit interesting when they also do have a lot of range to play with from the Jason Navaris, but also they will be providing peel, right? Because for BLG, they have a full dive composition. Ahri jumping in, Kai'Sa jumping in, you know, CC coming out from the realm of Cassante. So it's going to be a lot about the CC from JDG being used to protect people like Ruler and Knight to make sure that they're able to survive the onslaught. So it's kind of a nice change of pace where BLG feels like getting more aggressive tools in this game too.
So do you play for range here again? Because we've got Jason, as you were saying, you know, keeping the carries safe. Does Ruler go poke here as well, or do you need on-hit Varus to deal with some of the front line of BLG?
That's what I'm wondering too, because I definitely feel like you're going to need that damage dealing with things like the Cassante that are going to be such an annoyance later on. And I mean, BLG have so many ways of gap closing on you. It feels like, you know, they're going to get in that range. But at the same time, if they do, you're probably already dead. So I wouldn't be surprised to just see him lean on lethality, and then you just try to steamroll your way through the game. So for JDG, yeah, it's going to be, I feel like your best bet's going to be trying to do this. If not, you have enough frontline if it goes the distance. You have a, you know, tremendous amount. You have a good amount of CC that could potentially protect Ruler, but then you really are putting everything in Ruler's hands. But hell, this man got a pentakill in his last series just like Elk. You know he's able to deliver.
I mean, they're both gods at this point, and the fact is that Elk doesn't have the accolades behind him, but he is quickly becoming a name in the LPL as international viewers tune in to see what this legend is doing. We did a comparison before, but I just want to compare Ruler, who's got 4 LCK finals under his belt. He's got an LCK championship. He's got 2 world finals. He's got a world championship in that as well. He's got an LPL championship from his first split. He's got an MSI championship from his first split. Elk has been to MSI once. That was last split. Elk has been to the LPL finals once. That was last split. Outside of that, Elk has never been in an LPL finals. He's never been internationally. This is Elk's year, and he's standing up to someone like Ruler, who has so many accolades, it takes up half a sheet of paper. That's what he's dealing with here, but again, you all know the story of Ruler. Elk is going to try and build his one here today as our spot for a seed at Worlds, the first seed at Worlds, not, excuse me, only if the championship, Lyric, to clean myself up, the first seed in the world right now. Because no one's locked in Worlds, but today, someone will. Before any other region, BLG JDG Game 2 coming up. Holy moly.
Yeah, fans
Log out
going
there.
absolutely crazy.
LGD, let's go!
And if anyone out there is wondering, you know, hearing a say, oh, they lock in Worlds, what seed did they lock in? They'll, at minimum, lock in second seed. So they'll at least have enough championship points to go second, even if they'd end up losing in the grand final. So they'd be 1 or 2, they'd be in the main event, wouldn't have to go through the play-ins, and they'd be definitely feeling great being in that situation, right? I mean, hell, a lot of these players looking for a chance to win their first World Championship. I mean, just across the board, right? I guess only Ruler coming through and having gotten that achievement before.
I mean, it would be such a great accolade to add to your list, especially for BLG, considering that they'd not only deny the Golden Road from JDG this year, but these players, like, they do not have the experience when you compare up to a team like JDG. And to correct myself, as you helped me before, Lyric, yes, of course, the first team to lock in World is a better way to put it. As we're very early in the split, but those grand final points can't be underestimated. A top 2 seed would be insane here. As BLG try to fight back from what game 1 was, which was individual skill, domination, Kanavi's world, us living in it. Paraphrase Medic. As the 2v2 not going as exceptional right now, as Ruler just fights back.
Yeah, and we can see, right, went to lethal tempo, so expect the on-hit to come through. And just going to play to be able to dodge out on all the all-in and, you know, believing in his front line to do the job, which at the end of the day, I think is a good call when you're going to need that damage to be able to come through to end up hurting and taking down people like Bin and On, especially if you expect to be hitting a lot of frontline from the way that this game should pan out from the way the comps come. So I think it's the right call. We just need to see JDG able to execute, but you hit on it. This is a team that you know can execute.
Oh, yeah. And no matter how hard the comp, you have faith. But, Lyric, I will say, all AD damage coming into this comp with BLG is bottom lane 2v2 could be in trouble. There is a ward there to spot, but Missing and Rule already go in. There's a flash and Elk. Response likewise. On can just walk this one out, but with Kanavi making his first appearance, a summoner's gone.
And already finding the early tempo. Once again, leaning back on what he said in that pregame interview, that out of me and Shun, the one that performs better is going to be the one that is more proactive. So really believing in it thus far. And now you're going to have a pain point to try to punish bot lane once again. Hell, Missing going to have multiple opportunities to look for the engage, look for the CC, and then potentially burn that cleanse too.
I mean, again, last game, it was just crazy how JDG's bot held onto their summoners unless playing aggressive. Missing, as you mentioned, it's one flash, but it's 2 summoners likewise already down for BLG. Ignite almost up as it was an earlier engage at level 1 that tried to get more out of JDG. As Shun now moves into position, that ward cleared by Jing Dong, or rather has expired, so Shun will move into River unspotted for now.
Yeah, going to be able to guarantee this one. Might even be able to make his way up towards top and pick that one up. We're going to see if he decides to look for that with the fact that Cassante having so much of that early pressure, but doesn't look like it for now. Just going to head towards spot lane. I don't think an opportunity should be there. I'm not sure if the wave bouncing back just yet, but he's actually angling around the turret.
Trying to, at the very least. Sapling's in position for a counter as the ward to spot some movement through the lane. Shun would have to flash and find a great bramble smash. But rather, with the wave crashing in, as you suggested, Lyric, this could be the all-in. Rawlison with flash available. He cleanses first. There's the strikes to come through. Elk tanks under turret, though, and he's going to drop down. It's first blood, but Missing with a response, as at least the wave was denied.
Yeah, so ends up going 1 for 1, but still Elk holding aggro for so long, a bit of a tragedy. While that was going on, Kanavi actually ganked top. I'm a little bit surprised that they weren't able to get at least a summoner for that exchange, but JDG, I mean, the fact that you go 1 for 1 in a 2v3 situation, I feel like definitely is something you're feeling good about.
Look at the
Not
wave
even really behind in, yeah, not even really behind in CS, but it does mean, right, they're going to end up bouncing back into the BLG bot lane. We're going to see exactly how it went down here, because it's Missing. Start things off, gets his job done, throws up the stun, takes aggro, but then it switches over to Elk too far in under turret, and without the flash, right, can't flash away after that first shot to escape with his life, so...
Yeah. I was going to say, Lyric, I think On just thought he was tanking turret, probably getting to the edge of range, but a little bit too far out as JDG are going to find themselves a cheeky back, or rather not. Yagao is out of it before that 2v1 starts off.
Already seeing JDG concentrating a lot of their vision up towards the top side to where BLG, of course, still having that ward in lane, you know, right past the turret. So if they saw, you know, the Sejuani or if Missing was approaching from lane, they'd have that information. And it's going to be about if either team wants to try and pick up an early Drake. It doesn't feel like either team has really asserted like strong presence over the bot lane 2v2 so far, where they can just outright start one up. So it looks like maybe just going to end up trying to find ganks towards bot once again.
But Shun is starting to drag it off. He will be on a ward as he encroaches down in this territory bot side. Ruler Missing getting pressured a lot more, and Lyric, this game I will say, Shun is a lot more proactive towards his bot lane first. and feels like he's getting some kind of edge on Kanavi. However, have I spoken too soon? Oh, did I curse him? Elk flashed on, not dead yet though. Kanavi out of range, Charm saves his life. That Bramble Smash playing with fire, but it doesn't matter. Yagao comes through with the Spirit Rush reset, and JDG are punished. So close, but that ain't gonna be the cigar as Yagao runs in with the boys in the neighborhood. And bro, did JDG feel the smack across the back of the head.
BLG using the fact that they had mid prio, Yagao was already heading down to try and, give them some presence over Drake. I thought the low health bars of people like Elk and On would have dissuaded them from starting in Kanavi. Man, they were so close, but JDG, they look like they don't want to stop. BLG, though, they read the situation well. Or do they?
No, they don't. Missing can't get out. He's interrupted. Shun with another kill. Whoop! Well, game continues to fire up, but in BLG's corner for this early game, Lyric, which is a completely different situation.
Which is great, right? All of us here, everyone watching, we want a series. We want the 5-game banger, BLG, JDG, and now BLG showing signs of life. Kanavi was so close, but it's actually Ruler's arrow I want you to focus on. My God, not being able to find it. At least there could have ended up being a 1-for-1. Then it's not the end of the world. No AD carry on the opposite side, but they keep going in. They end up finding Ruler, and Yagao having the Spirit Rush, having that prio in mid, really being the main difference maker to cement them all those kills, and really just taking advantage of a back timing coming out from Knight, which is why he was still catching a wave in mid.
But I will say, on the back end, Lyric, at least when he did come back, he chose to stay mid and picked up almost 2 turret plates. So, as we're looking at top, what happened? I guess that's where 369's flash went. Yeah, Bin trying to solo kill, as Bin does.
Now, finding that CS advantage in the 1v1, which, K'Sante should be able to do. And Bin, I think a lot of people would expect to be the more dominant top laner. Definitely as the stats showing it, which, different champion pools, right? 369 leaning way more heavily on the Ornn and kind of being that role player, so it's what you'd expect. But JDG, despite being down in gold, despite giving over kills, opting into picking up the objective. So I like that BLG don't bring their bot lane up. Like, this should be an objective for the side of JDG. So trying to find something and get more for your bot lane would probably be the play here. But with Shun's positioning on the map, it doesn't actually translate much into any vision or any plates down for your bot lane.
Yeah, so with Herald picked up, maybe JDG can claw some back, at least for the time being. Elk with the shove in bot. Won't be instantaneous, so Ruler will be able to catch the majority, as it is a slow push he's working with here. Just trying to coax them in to some kind of play, as Shun is not walking over vision. The control ward there. 369 could be in trouble. He's rooted back, and now follow up there. Twisted Advance is great. There's Call the Forge God, but the Ram Jam, and thank you, ma'am, he says. Now for a Searing Charge out. That's next for 369, but he's sticking around, trying to buy some time. No one's coming to help him. But the fact that he survived so long is a testament, as Bin picks up the kill, and Shun is online this game too.
Great job by BLG. Shun, finding so many opportunities. JDG trying to get something on the opposite side by stealing away some jungle camps, but it looks like BLG are aware that it's happening. We can see where On's position is on the minimap, and even Yagao backing off a little bit, just in case anything started happening. And how much of a wave? Okay, so not much of a wave, so I don't think JDG should be able to do anything off of this other than take away some more camps.
Just toying with danger as well. On, not going to get the root down. Elk's coming in. Shun now in bot side with that level 6 available, Lyric. As Chains of Corruption going to be used. Cleanse away. Elk still gets hit by the arrow in the quiver. As now, again, threatening this bot side with the Herald. Kanavi is looking for business.
Gonna back off for now. Looks like at the end of the day, deciding, hey, not really much we'd be able to do off a Herald push here. And now we're getting to a point where the advantage that BLG have picked up with these kills, with the CS in lanes like top lane, are starting to show. Jack Show picked up for Bin. Demonic Embrace there for Shun. So gonna have a lot more damage coming out. Kraken Slayer for Elk. Pretty much any skirmish that happens right now, BLG should just be favored unless a massive whiff comes through. Of course, we do have things like Cleanse done on Elk, so maybe there's some opportunities there for you to try to look for a pick with things like the quickness, but that would be relying on Elk being isolated in situations like this.
Always someone nearby. On going to back off, but Yagao even hovering down in case. JDG threatened by a potential gank in one of those brushes, as Yagao taking some damage from Knight, who's just been chilling away in the solo lane. But remember, it is the items we speak of in BLG's hands. It's the strength there in this early game. Even Bin having a great time in this lane, as there might not be a CS lead throughout all lanes for BLG, but right now, you're saying that this is a vast improvement on game number 1, Lyric. It is an early game that they can play with. And remember that we said, early games for both these teams are the cause and the motto and the identity of both BLG and JDG through the regular season. They find an early game lead. They don't have a trouble closing a game out, as we know both these teams are top-tier caliber.
And now a lot's going to come down to, in my mind, not necessarily how the carries do on JDG, but again, how, like, the supporting system does to not allow, Elk to be able to fly on and, like, delete Ruler with the help of Yagao or, situations like that. Because I think those are the worst-case scenarios for JDG, is BLG being able to get past the front line.
Permafrost's going to be there. Shock blast under turret. It's a little bit cheeky. Missing gets charmed, but it doesn't matter. On's pathing disrespectful as Shun ulties afterwards, but Herald gets the charge. On with a bit of a mistake that gives JDG an angle.
Weird mistake, too, and On has been, just such a good player. Again, such a drastic improvement from his early days on how criticized he was, and I'd say fairly so. But now because of that, BLG, we'll see if they even want to elect into this. I think it would be quite rough, but some cooldowns were used fighting that pick onto On.
But Shun also burnt his ulti as well. The Rel died. The engage tool's not there. And Lyric, it's going to be a second dragon for JDG. So just when I'm talking about BLG being in a better spot, JG are the ones stacking the objective. And when we talked about some of the poking tools, some of the, tankier tools this time for JDG, we know how these fights want to go. And JDG might have control in front of these upcoming neutrals, considering that they've already controlled the tempo for the first 2.
Yeah, but you need to remember, it's not going to be super poke heavy, since we are going to go, Yagao not able to connect with the charm.
Ooh, the big strong boys going. Come on. Internet cafe days relived. Close call.
If you missed it, this is the 21st series Knight and Yagao played against each other. If you're just counting LPL plus internationals, this is a whole ton over, not too many years in the LPL. This Knight.
Okay. Kanavi is here, but Shun now shows himself. There's no room for Permafrost as topside continues being hovered up exceptionally since Bin is pummeling 369. And he's back against turret as Elk walks into the lane. And here we go. Chance of Corruption is cleansed away. Missing jumps in with the quickness, but as soon as Elk flashes out, the teleport comes through from JDG, but it's Knight who will fly through, who bullies Elk. The damage insane, but as Shun tries to help out, he turns his target. It's actually On, with the Magnet Storm, who gets ignited and drops down to missing. Yagao has now teleported in, but JDG have done the damage, and BLG can't respond.
And it's kind of JDG taking advantage of some of the rotations on the map made by GLG, going with some unexpected plays of their own, like that TP down to bot side tonight, to create picks. Right? We know if any 5v5 or 4v4 would have happened, BLG should have been able to come out on top because some of the earlier item advantages that they've been able to pick up. But I like that JDG are kind of making these very flexible rotations to catch BLG off guard and bring the gold very close to even.
It's insane, isn't it? And especially with an Ornn on the team, that gold value is only going to be more disingenuous as the levels accrue. So still has been is in a position where he wants to continue taking this all out, or rather threaten one in that ulti. It just seems like JDG always have a will and a way. It's kind of insane. Again, that game 1, we were talking them up so much, like the individual skill that was coming out of JDG. We're seeing pockets of that again. Even though BLG have really opened up this game so beautifully, it is nice to see why we hype up JDG and the fact that they can never be out of a game, despite us talking up early game for both these teams and how easy they can close it out, I guess, against other teams.
Yeah, just being creative. Their macro being something a lot of teams have highlighted when they face them.
Again. Permafrost is going to be there. I mean, this Rel has been caught out time and time again. There's a re-engage, but Yagao coming through. Maybe this time it is a bait. Elk flies in with a killer instinct, but Yagao now in a bad position as missing his help do the job. A third death might mean more as BLG pile in. Shun going to be Permafrost. Charm not connecting. Shun piled over as Ruler stepping into 3 people. He finds Shun, but he'll die for it in the end. Ambitious as always is the 80 carries. Elk's the one to pick up the kill. The poke hit's missing as well. As BLG's 80 carry now in a bad spot without the cleanse available. Launched on Kanavi with a re-engage. He does not respect the big ball. And JDG snap their jaws shut again.
Ruler is just playing so bold. Not only in game one, where, again, remember numerous situations where he was willing to chase people down and die, and then his teammates be able to follow up on the kills. Same thing happening here. So JDG went out in the mid play. Bin was able to finally get the turret up in top side, so he's just trying to push his advantage as far as he possibly can to try to be the thing that evens out, the thing that's let Ruler come back into the game, that's, you know, having Knight push forward, because we see here, starts off with On just getting caught out. Once again, JDG doing a great job playing in the enemy jungle. Bit of disrespectful pathing coming out from On. He gets taken down, and keep your eyes on Ruler. Twisted Advance, Cleanse, instant flash once Elk pushes, you know, his ultimate button. So not going to let that one come through. And then wanting to keep running down Shun, gets CC'd, but the damage is not exactly there. And I guess it just looked all a little too enticing for him.
He just runs into the battle of three people.
He just don't care.
He just doesn't, does he? And I mean, here again, Lyric, Kanavi has been on point.
He's having a great series. I mean, 2 games in a row. I was so sure after the first few minutes that we had that it was going to be a bit of a repeat of a game one, just in the opposite way, that BLG would be able to dominantly close it out against JDG. But now, Gold exactly even. Going to get a bit more here with this Herald. We'll see if they can actually get turret.
They won't.
And they're just trying to gain prio to be able to get on this dragon first. Elk still doesn't have flash for a little while, but Ruler also doesn't have sums.
Kanavi jumping in, Sapling in the brush, flashes away from the charm, but the poke from Knight ensues as JDG are now in a choke. On is looking for his angle, but he doesn't have real flash. It's only Hex Flash with the Magnet Storm. He Hex Flashes over, though, and finds Kanavi. The Magnet Storm is only a one-man, though, but it's on the tanks. Look at missing jump back line as Bellows Breath gets past them all. BLG have been corrupted as Bin separates that naughty jungler. But the charm doesn't find its way. JDG with numbers advantage as Bin tries to flip over, tries to right the wrongs of BLG's teleports there, but you will not be leaving, old friend. Jing Dong, the doorbell of death. I can hear it in the distance again.
It doesn't matter how good BLG are. It doesn't matter that they finished first in the regular season. Honestly, we're probably in better form coming into the series. JDG just absolutely live rent-free in their heads. Come back in this fight. I mean, isn't really coming back in this fight when BLG throwing everything onto the front line, like you pointed out. Shunzo, Onzo, everything onto the tanks. I mean, keep your eyes on Kanavi and 369 because that's where, right, Shunzo thrown out. We have the Magnet Storm going there too. And then we're going to see just Ruler and Knight off to the side, dishing out consistent damage onto them. Didn't matter the call the Fortune God wasn't able to be followed up on, because they're just getting whittled down. And then sure, we have 1 kill able to be brought back by the fact that Bin has it all out and can bring the Sejuani over the wall, but the damage has already been done.
Disrespectful. Knight just follows him down, hunts him, and 4-0-2 now on your scoreboard. JDG, they didn't have the early game, but boy, are they taking the hearts of the mid game. Now with the gold lead as well, they got the 3rd dragon. Yagao in a bit of trouble too. There's the Glacial Prison down. Yagao has to flash, then ulti. Missing comes in for the counter flank as Bin now teleports in, but JDG aren't afraid of him. Missing threatens up with the quickness almost up and available. There's another TP. Bin now in trouble. Has he gone too far? Over the wall, he'll be taking an enemy with him, but under turret, Missing takes a kill of his own. Call the Forge God helps with that one. As BLG, it is like game one. They just can't put a foot right as soon as JDG get their hands in it.
And right, you'll take that trade every day of the week. Mid laner for support. Ruler, not even here, just pushing out, denying a wave, denying golden experience in mid lane. So no. JDG finding a bit more Kanavi.
Oh, these backs, these positions, JDG just keep fighting BLG.
Oh, is Ruler caught?
Is it free real estate? He is. He's going to go golden, but JDG are coming in. Do they want to take the rest of this fighters? No. Ruler is just going to drop down and give a massive bounty. Over to Elk. The gods can bleed. Gods can make mistakes. And BLG have some kind of angle to continue this game in a better spot.
Cleanse gets burned, and Elk taking advantage of the fact that he can look for those cross-range, kind of like cross-map picks of sorts, be able to join the fight out of nowhere, and Ruler not expecting that one to be able to come through. So still neck and neck. The real big difference maker is just JDG on Soul Point, and then Knight now has gotten so much gold. I believe he's about a full item up on Yagao.
Hang on. It's Cassante. He doesn't have all out, though, so he needs a bit of backup. Shun's coming in, but Kanavi's there as well. We're going to try and get him next to the wall, but Bin threatens to get the flash at the very least. A Twisted Band finds nothing, or rather Nature's Grasp with Shun gets hit in the face by Knight's combo, and this game, it's hurting, as they can't find anything, but at least they stop any play from going further up, as BLG are able to get a side turret in the meantime.
So BLG bringing it right back. Doesn't matter that JDG were able to find a couple of good plays earlier on. With that turret and with the kills, they've started stacking up again. We're back to even. And kind of taking stock is, never mind, apparently we get a replay of...
No stock.
Is this the... Okay, so this is the original shenaniganry that we had up towards the top side. A lot of actually key abilities kind of missing it for a set. Accelerate Shock Blast not hitting, but Cassante bringing, you know, on into the fold, but between the quickness... He's able to find it in the end. But then it's here, Ruler's like, all right, we've won, we backed off, I'm going to push this wave and deny the golden XP. And them not expecting on to be here. Maybe getting by right before that control ward was placed. And then once the CC comes through, Magnet Storm thrown out, you're able to follow in with the Killer Instinct to guarantee this kill for the side of BLG.
It goes to Elk as well. 650 gold shutdown means 3 items fast approaching. We have to remember that it was the early game, it was that bot side that for Elk was going pretty decently, at least better than the first game. So Elk seems like he's a saving grace. And Lyric, what we know about BLG this year with this new comp is that Elk is the hyper carry in the late game. He is the damage dealer. He has one of the highest AD damage ratios, or at least values, in the LPL at above 30% consistently.
Yeah, he's the big carry for their side. And now, like you said, I mean, nearing 3 items. Also picked up a stopwatch on his last pack, which can do so much if he dives in and then has to wait for his team to reposition around it and help him get out of the situation alive. He'll be able to do so. I wonder how close Ruler is to his 3rd item. I wonder if he's going to go like the Rift Maker route.
But dude, On just got chunked, and it's Ocean Soul in 30 seconds. Knight chunks out, Ruler chunks out, and On might just have to base and give a 4v5. In light of one of the most important objectives here in this game that could lead to match point if JDG find the fight.
It's going to be important to hit a shock blast like that. You're thinking of that one, right? Elk's now chunked, and for BLG it'd be so hard to try to find a fight. But both teams posturing over midway for now. The fact that BLG are the ones with current river control gives them a bit of threat.
Ooh. Bin tries with the Novo strikes. Elk stepping up as Bellow's breath stops him from getting rooted in place. JDG take a bit of chunk themselves. Bin is so aggro,
huge.
But he doesn't find the knockback. So Bin, as he walks it out, BLG move to river with him. A bit of poke damage to follow through, but JDG now have to walk into river. Oh my god! Knight may have single-handedly given them a dragon.
And they need that, right? Because we're seeing they are not getting any damage on the Bin right now. But that's not going to stop them from going forward.
Nature's Grasp flies across the team. It's Kanavi to tank it up. 369 as well. The poke follows through. Great Kanavi ult. Takes out your Gal Dragon. Resets, but now Cold Forge Goddess. What a Magnet Storm! It doesn't matter though, as Elk is in the thick of it. JDG refused to die. The kings of the world will continue cursing BLG.
And how does Ruler not have to cleanse? How does Ruler not have to flash in that situation? So many summoners also up for the members of BLG. Trying to all in and just getting taken out so fast. That's Soul. That's Baron.
JDG can't beat BLG. It doesn't matter how close it looks. It's just the one team that BLG are cursed not to find a win against, it seems, or at least a good spot in the series as Baron goes down, as JDG look mentally sound. This was
what even
bananas.
happens here? My eyes are on Ruler the whole time because like, oh, Ruler's chilling, Ruler's fine. We see come out, great Glacial Prison come out from the Sejuani right away. And then here, just members jumping in. Oh, just so much CC quickness. Magnet Storm doesn't end up mattering either. And then Ruler doesn't even have to use anything.
What is happening?
They all dive in. They all dive in straight to things like the quickness, like the knockback coming out from 369. Just the bounce house. It really what it was.
Biggest mosh pit I've ever seen, man.
Yes. Yes.
And you go to metal concerts, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it is definitely like one of those ones at a festival where the whole audience is literally just a mosh pit. No one is safe anywhere, which is sad because sometimes you just want to be safe and you just want to chill out. But to be fair, BLG were the little guy that walked up and pushed the 8-foot-tall, big, muscular guys, and they paid for it. They don't do that. I don't do that. I'd get messed up.
I mean, they've given the big muscular guy Ocean Soul a massive gold lead. Now Elder on the board. BLG the ones defending as this Baron play is cleaving through the map. Mid and top are just getting shredded so quickly, and we have a minute 45 left.
I'm sorry, now you just got me imagining Horde in a mosh pit, because that really would be something. But like you said, you're going to be able to use this Baron to great effect with having things like the Jason line, just keep throwing out those accelerated shock blasts. They should be trying to find an opportunity to all in, but the problem is JDG aren't showing on any other lanes.
What? Chain to corruption, here we go, Call the Forge God. That's a great ulti from Ruler. 369 misses the ult. We won't focus on that because JDG have found themselves a quick double kill through the top side with Baron, with the poke. I mean, BLG are now up against match point, it feels like, as they just have to dot the I's and cross the T's, and we will be 2-0 into this upper bracket finals.
Yeah, we're going to see if they're able to do it with the amount of time they have left, because we do have, you know, you have tools to work with on the side of BLG. A lot of key ults down for JDG, but JDG might just be too big.
They might. Techno Viking in the backline. 369 just stands there. Again, he's a loose unit, cannot be stopped as Bin has to defend, but with one Nexus turret down, another about to drop. There he goes again. 3 versus 5. It's so impossible as Elk is at least trying, but they flash on his head, and Knight will not let him stand in vain. As BLG have an open Nexus, they try with the Everfrost, but JDG refuse to die. This team refuses to be bad. And with a 2-0 start to the series on match point to secure their spot at Worlds and another championship, JDG are the sexiest team alive.
I seriously want to see the psychology reports of what happens to BLG. What happens to them when JDG are sitting across from them on stage? It just looks so different. Or is it JDG? Is it just JDG are the ones who are like, okay, you know, training weights off, you know, Rock Lee, Naruto scene, and you just go all out. I guess that scene's not a great analogy because he doesn't end up winning, but point is, right? Point is, are those weights just on? Because my God, they fell behind a little bit early on. It wasn't like as big of a gold lead as JDG found in game 1. I believe it got up to about like a 2K gold lead for BLG. And then just like, right, small mistakes, things like the path on took the mid lane, getting punished, and I expected Kanavi to be in that mid lane rush. Creative plays coming through because the Knight was just pressuring in mid lane, and just out of nowhere, TP's down to bot, and I think Ruler was under that turret by himself. The other members were making their way down from jungle, but just certain plays that BLG really couldn't account for. And then, I mean, the nail in the coffin was just really that one team fight where things look so good, but first Kanavi's ultimate catching out Yagao, who was going to get on top of Ruler, and then everyone else jumps in, and it is CC for days, man. It was a rough one for BLG in that team fight.
It really was, and again, like, even though the early game looked better, it's just one player, it's one moment where JDG comes up clutch, and even though people look at this and be like, oh, BLG aren't playing well, whether you want to say that or not, you have to be realistic that JDG's window for opportunity is so difficult to get through. Like, it is so hard to watch this team and not say, well, how bloody good are they? All 5 members performing out of their mind. They might get caught out one play, but then their return, their comeback, their skirmishing, their team fights look that good. So I feel like that's why people should be scared of JDG.
Exactly. And like, this series still isn't over. BLG can definitely come back, right? Like, I mean, we saw they were able to win out in the early game. You just take it one game at a time, and we know they have the skill level to do it. Again, now, like, the mental fortitude, who knows? None of us can know, you know, kind of what's going on in their camp right now. Maybe they get a riveting motivational speech. But I would really hate if, like, yeah, the criticism came through of BLG, and we're just like, man, look at all the great things that JDG have now done in these 2 games. What a terrifying team to have to contend with. And like their team fighting, some of the decisions they're making on the map is just second to none. And I guess it's why, like, throughout a holistic year, again, if they can keep winning, they're going to go down as the best team in a year's period in League of Legends. You know, whether if you can argue like other teams having higher peaks or not, that is totally fine. But if they just keep winning, it's never happened before. You said it earlier, it hasn't happened before.
We've never had a golden road in League of Legends. Now, of course, we've got to see JDG get to the finals and win that finals.
I'm thinking about it. Actually, I feel like we're getting too hyped right now. We're not even in the grand finals yet. There's just an upper bracket final. The series isn't over.
It doesn't matter. So far, the first 2 games have been explosive, and they have been, by all rights, JDG stomping their foot on the ground and showing us why this team, as a 5-man unit, is so successful. I mean, look at Knight. He didn't roam to bot lyric. Yagao came down, got the kills, set up Elk for success. But Knight stayed mid, he chilled out, and then all of a sudden, 11-0 at 7, he's got 40% KP, or rather damage, excuse me. Knight carried the game on the Jace. It is just insanity.
It was crazy, right? He was the one stepping up. He was the one showing up huge in team fights. You hit on it before that last Dragon fight, right? That Knight's Accelerate Shock Blast right there might have won the fight, and it did push him off a bit further, which felt like gave JDG a bit more time to kind of reposition around that Dragon the way they wanted to, really force BLG's hands. And there were so many small things like that this guy was doing. Knight right now, he just looks great. It just looks great in the series. I'm excited to see what he brings out in Game 3, but I am really hoping that BLG can overcome and that BLG can, again, make it a bit more of a competitive series because they're a good enough team to do so.
They really are. And again, BLG have been our best team in the regular season, but again, the date with Destiny is calling for JDG. The Golden Road, at least the start of it here in summer, as some would say, is calling for one more game to lock them into Worlds. As the first team in the world to do so, we're going to go to a break and find out if JDG have it in them or BLG will continue fighting here in this series with a reverse sweep.
Only aim for perfection. Ain't no half-stepping.
但是 TT 这边也是中野没什么血量了，怎么办？还要继续追，闪现一炮，哦哟，盲炮，
没视野的。
原神这么果断啊，这一闪现炮。
针对这条小龙进行了拉扯。LT 疯狂找机会输出来了，挑飞3个打3个，接上泽力的超前爆闪，瞬间3个人头应声倒地。哇，这一波汤圆的表现！
中路小薇也过来魅惑到了，
冷不丁的一个一闪，哇，平 A 的同时瞬间一闪，
好帅呀，原神！嗨克不太敢上了吧，还要硬来，
绿毛这边
先杀绿毛，绿毛这边应该被ban了，但是嗨克被魅惑到，又接了一个羊，弧形撞起来，哎，这波感觉方不大追的有点深啊！打完之后，弧形这边还没有死，一丝血活了下来。这一波感觉嗨克有点太过，哎呦，亲到了，
亲到，
汤圆
闪现，
还得是原神这2个亲呀，一亲先亲到嗨克，然后撞羊，
关键时候找到了关键的控制。
大招交了，
小薇这边可以回血，这血线也没关系。
哦呦，林伟翔
直接秒了，
汤圆！哇，汤圆这一波太突然了，直接秒掉林伟翔。
球球交闪现，好像走不太掉，
球球也死了一下。哇，汤圆这一波太突然了，这个安妮直接秒掉了林伟翔，单人秒杀。
Summer sunset, that southern chicken fried. First kiss in a Chevy on a football Friday night. With the smell of sweet magnolias, back road you learn to drive. We're a dusty old bar stool, coke and a chorus line. From the river banks of the Mississippi to the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. From Louisiana to Mobile, Alabama, land of the free. This country's you and me. We are the Texas skyline, Kentucky grass blue. We're the world's best honky-tonk, breaking in a pair of boots. We're a sweet Carolina, if there's nowhere else to go. With a country music song playing on your radio. From the river banks of the Mississippi to the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. From Louisiana to Mobile, Alabama, land of the free. This country's you and me. This country's you and me.
together and mend my soul to this. Bound by chains that hold us, we won't be silent. We were born in blood. 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 We were forced in fire. We were born in blood.
很久没打比赛了吧，但是我们一直很积极的在训练吧，就是各方面的一些东西都在加强吧。胜者组对阵 BLG 的话，因为也是打过很多次了吧，就算是比较了解，就是我们会努力准备的。就是心态的话，我们肯定占优嘛，因为就是一直赢没输。我觉得季后赛这个版本的话 ，AD 的选择是很多样化的。然后作为辅助的话，就是看拿到什么英雄吧，然后把英雄特性发挥出来，就帮助团队这样子。我觉得 BLG 下路组这次季后赛打法的话，比以前更强了吧，然后更加的凶悍，有点疯狂。然后我们的话就是保持好自己的状态，就是积极面对就可以。距离决赛的话就剩一步之遥了吧，然后我们也是会积极备战，努力去。就是卫冕这个冠军。
Well, they're one step away from getting to those finals and having a chance to defend their championship title here as JDG send us to match point with a 2-0 start in this upper bracket final. My name is Eric, I'm joined by Lyric. And game number 2, Knight picks up MVP from what a performance of Jace that started off slow, Lyric, but honestly, JDG whammed their head into the brick wall and didn't keep their foot off the pace as soon as we got to 15 minutes in.
Yeah, and Knight, you're gonna pick up MVP for that reason. Like, didn't follow. We were highlighting early, right? Not following down some of the roams, like electing to stay mid, take plates, just get more gold under himself, and it paid off because in the standoffs, in the team fights, he was huge. But even again, just some of the moments where he was, being a little bit more proactive, TPing into like enemy jungle, throwing accelerated shock blast towards bot, turning and trying, helping the team find more picks, and just really going back and forth, setting JDG up for success. Going up against his longtime rival and longtime friend, right? They used to play on a team together where Knight actually wasn't the mid laner. He gave up that to Yagao, thinking Yagao was better for the role at the time. And now coming in today and just another notch in the rivalry. And now only one game away from Worlds. And we know every time Knight goes to Worlds, the best showings haven't been there. A lot of the time, you're kind of like looking at some of his teammates, but even he hasn't been able to step up on the biggest stage of them all. So I'd be excited off a performance like this if he gets the chance to do it again, especially when he's just surrounded by a team that he's clearly so comfortable with.
I mean, again, just cleanliness throughout. It's explosive power. Knight surviving by an inch there as the team fighting has been insane in this series, but better yet, it has been JDG that have been the insane ones so far. I mean, Knight getting MVP, it's well deserved here. Ruler with honorable mentions. I feel like 369 Kanavi, even missing here in this game, were insane in their own right. But that's JDG in a nutshell for you. JDG's a 5-stack, have been insane, and it feels like we talk a lot about them, but I mean, when you're 2-0 up in a series where it should be either 1-1 or maybe even BLG should have had a bigger say in game one, you have to say, like, well, we have to talk about JDG because BLG right now aren't coming up to their level, and that is more of a compliment towards JDG rather than a negative on BLG.
Yeah, and again, I don't, like, they're just not able to step up despite the fact that, honestly, they were kind of cleaner in the regular season. They were able to finish first. They still did lose to JDG. Like, I feel like that is an important point to make. JDG still did beat them. But, you know, went against Top Esports, not many flaws that you can pick apart in that series with how thorough they were in being able to take them down. But then here, it just looks like it looks like a disparity of like first versus one of our bottom end teams, right? And that's just JDG being crazy. So I hope BLG going to be able to bounce back, going to be able to rely on the strength of their bot lane, because we heard Missing talking about that, right? That BLG's bot lane is really aggressive. And when I was looking at the stats coming into the series, that was kind of the disparity, is that, you know, Ruler Missing have the highest CS differential in the league at like 15 minutes, something like plus 12, something ridiculous, to where Elkinon's isn't anywhere near that high, but Elkinon lead the league in terms of like early game aggression for laners. And all of the action is just about them and around them. So if they can get that going, you know, keep trying to invest in that 2v2. They did that this game. I guess the problem was that they just weren't able to translate it. The other question mark kind of being mid lane, because I'm a bit surprised that we aren't able to find more impact out of Yagao, or, you know, maybe have higher emphasis on things like the Jace or whatnot. But it seems like things like these Nico bans and just the bans that are coming through are really putting Yagao in a situation where he's been finding the same impact that he found in the last series. To be fair, like, he did play the Yari, and he had a great game on that in their series against Top Esports, but it seems like he's going to need more to go up against Knight in this form.
I mean, again, so far the lanes haven't been in Yagao's favor. It's both games now where LeBlanc versus Zir, Knight's been handing it to him in that game. You know, Jace versus Yari, we saw even in lane, you know, Knight was in a better position. So Yagao has been the lesser of in the 1v1 through mid. But I think even more so, even though Shun was proactive in that early game, we saw once again Kanavi being the more proactive jungler of the two as they got to mid game this time instead of the early game. Like, it feels like mid jungle right now is a very big deal, but then I could go across the whole map and be like, well, actually Ruler's outperforming Elk and Missing's outperforming On, it feels like. I mean, it's really hard when...
Yeah. The team... Yeah, you're just like you're saying, JDG is all showing up, and BLG really haven't been on the Rift. I will say an area I'd like to see them maybe try and take advantage of is mid jungle. And like, I know that's something that's said a lot, but when you look at JDG, and I feel like we've even seen that throughout the series, is that Kanavi and Knight in the first 15 minutes don't actually play around each other as much as some other mid jungle duos, like Scout and Tarzan, I think are a great example. And even Yagao and Shun in the regular season, like, it's a lot more linked up. JDG, it's a lot about like Knight providing pressure on his own, and then like we see maybe Kanavi going for invades or Kanavi ganking for his side lanes. A lot of that, the split's been down towards that bot lane with where the meta is at. But if you can get Shun more involved in your kind of mid lane dance and your mid lane dynamic, at least that's an area where you're not only shutting down Knight, but you're following the blueprint that LNG showed for you. Because that's where they were able to take over. That's where they were able to play from. That's where we said Kanavi wasn't having the best series, and Knight had some good games, but Knight got shut down in other games in that series against LNG. So we'll see if they're able to pull from that, because, again, LNG have at least already given them a bit of a blueprint that they're able to lean on.
It's just so crazy to me that the JDG versus LNG and the JDG versus BLG is so vastly different. Again, a blueprint, but also it's just the technologically advanced nature of JDG at this point, I'm convinced. I don't know what they've downloaded into their
like
brains.
A futuristic AI.
They must be, dude. There's no way this team can be, again, that clinical after the game against LNG. And I mean, again, key learnings. Every team's different, right? LNG, we know, is a slower-paced team. They are, I'd say, in some regard, quite methodical, but aren't as explosive in the early game as BLG are. We know explosive teams can make more mistakes, but we know that BLG, you wouldn't really call them a riddled mistake team. That's the thing. No. JDG drawing it out, as BLG, I think, have been really clean with how they ensue their early game success and make a winning game out of it.
And right, they were not only first in the regular season and like finals and spring split. Like, that's cool, whatever. They were the finalists at MSI as well. Like, they made it to finals. over the other LCK teams, the other teams from, LEC, LCS, the other regions. Like, BLG are a team who have shown that they stand among the best in the world, not just the best in LPL. So I think that's what makes it all the more surprising. But like we said, I feel like kind of looking forward about what we want to see, I think Shun may be trying to invest more time around mid, trying to generate, help generate pride. We did see it once, and that's when the lean down towards bot came. But then a lot of it was like playing out through On's roams. And On actually did feel like the biggest drop-off in that game too. He was just getting caught out so consistently in that game and really giving the avenues for JDG to get back in that game. But it's just those map movements that need to be cleaned up going into this last one.
As we said, On hasn't been, that bad. I mean, On has had a great split,
On's
a great
good.
year. Yeah. It's not off nature that we're getting in previous years. And I feel like, few and far between plays as we've gone year by year that On has been making mistakes, and that's like a very uncharacteristic On. So you can see the pressure's there. You can see that these guys obviously not in a great spot in the series, but against JDG, again, that curse seems like it's continuing. BLG just have a block when it comes to versing this team. As I wanted to see if it was going to change today, but so far, obviously not as we go into game number 3. BLG have chosen red, Lyric. So, again, we talked about this at the start, assuming that BLG are just going to change it up a bit.
No, they have changed it up quite a lot. They've already completely changed 2 out of the 3 bans. So in game 1, they banned Kai'Sa, Rakan, Maokai, right? Now already flipping that script. We see... So JDG keep it the same as they did in game 1. Still valuing that Yagao could potentially bring out this red side Annie. Now I wonder, BLG, do you just take away the Kai'Sa now? It really feels like that's the one. No. So they're willing to give that one over. Rakan up. I wonder if you're saying, hey, you take the Kai'Sa and they're going to put more value on potential mid-jungle and they want the Jace. But if that was their plan, JDG don't fall for it. But BLG now at least have their chance to get their hands on that Kai'Sa once again.
Yeah, Kai'Sa Rel or Kai'Sa Maokai, what's it going to look like here? Shun didn't have the worst early game from the Maokai before, but it would deny that combination that now has become so sought after both in LPL and internationally. Just wait and see. As you said, Kai'Sa for Elk, okay, wasn't too bad in the second game. But Lyric, it's about the pick that goes with it, because we know that there's a lot open that can be sacrificed depending on where BLG go.
Yeah, like you said, the Rel. I would love the Rel if they were able to flex it. I even think it's still just a strong standalone pick, since you know that JDG are a team that will. Separating the Maokai Jace, definitely an option. But it's just so hard after what we saw last game, right? Because if you end up picking the Maokai, you kind of are just running it back. Just obviously now being on different sides, right? Because then JDG would just be able to lock in the Sejuani once again. I guess they would need a different bot lane combination to come out, because we did have the Rakan in the last game, but it seems like they can't be bothered by that. And I think it's a good choice, right? Not getting too emotional, maybe trying to stay a little bit more analytical about it, and not being too afraid of kind of the results of last game with the champs you're picking.
But now it does mean that JDG Lyric have this pick again. Remember, this was banned in game number 2 because of how well Ruler did in game 1. And the Rel is available. Yep. I mean, look, there you go. For a reason, right? As I think before, why did I say it was Ezreal before?
I mean, they do have an Ezreal skin as well, but it's Haru's Ezreal skin. So
yeah, Ezreal jungle.
Exactly.
So nice.
You were right on the money with the skin existing. Just I mean, that's always a weird one too, right? Like when they started adding the extra skins and things like that.
Yeah.
But there it is. We're getting the Sejuani with the Jace once again. This time the Xayah being open, I feel like does change the dynamic a little bit, but I'd say maybe even in the favor of JDG, because now you're going to have the self-peel coming through. But there it is. I was thinking in my mind, like, what change do you make with BLG now if you are potentially running the strat back? Because you need to change somewhere. And I think changing top is a good call, just from the fact that, like, we haven't gotten to see Bin have an impact so far. In game 1, he got ganked early, and, like, that was kind of it. And then JDG took over the game. Game 2, he was having a great time in lane, but not able to translate it into the map at all. So on the Gwen, he's going to need to be able to get more done. Doesn't mean you have mixed damage coming through, from jungle and top lane. So you'd expect, maybe you do just say, I don't care about the matchup, run another tank. You would expect to not get ganked all too much. And you say, hey, Ben, you're going to win lane again, but are you able to impact these team fights?
I mean, as you said, he's been really down in the dumps a bit. So it feels like BLG want to prioritize Ben even further. give him a better matchup here for topside and maybe change that dynamic completely. Right now, JDG are banning away the other solo lane, and for Yagao, he's not going to get his hands on the Tristana that's made it all the way through to the second phase. Another thing as well, Lyric, we've already got so much AP. The Azir would normally be a ban here, but hell, maybe you just take away another AD mid or an engage tool. As they say, as BLG, now their option, what the hell are they going to pull mid? Or even support for that matter?
I mean, support, we do still have the Rel left open. So
Sure.
you at least, going to be able to find a source of engage there, because I feel like that's something the composition really needs is engage. Even if they needed to go a bit deeper down the pool, right? Alistar still being, alive and well. But I also wonder about mid, because Yagao hasn't really shown anything. Like, champions like Yone exist, right? With Cream pulling that one out, like, even in their playoff series. So there definitely exist other AD mid lane options.
Yeah.
But I guess you also could theoretically flex the Kai'Sa to mid if you wanted, and then get like a stronger source of AD in the bot lane.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions, isn't there? Like, I mean, I like to pull out the Yone. There's other things towards mid we just saw as well. I will say, as JDG start looking at this, it's a different angle for 369 in this game as well. It's not tank 369, as they're going to add another engage tool to the fire, and possibly for missing as well. Who's thinking about the Brom, the Rel that's still up and available, but it's an Alistar angle on the other side. Do they care enough?
That's going to be the question, right? I mean, they already have like the engage coming out from the Sejuani, and then you kind of the so-and-so engage coming out from Gnar if 369 was able to find a huge impact. But it would be nice to have a bit more Brom, fulfilling best of both worlds, right? Could be able to find those knockups with your ultimate and provide the CC. But now here comes the question. Because we were wondering, hey, does he lean on the Yone? Do you maybe swap Kai'Sa to mid and then pick a different AD carry? No. They're going to really have a ton of magic damage. You expect Elk to go like the full AD build for the Kai'Sa here. But it's going to make, people like Sejuani, hell, even the Gnar, like itemizing so much easier in this game for a good amount of the damage that BLG are going to be throwing out. And I think it also lends to potential advantages to come out from JDG early on if Knight can get going. So, yeah, I'm kind of scared for this one looking at BLG when we're saying, hey, maybe getting Shun more involved in the mid lane would be your best scenario. The opportunity's still there. You have the CC set up from the Maokai, the damage from the Azir, the Emperor's Divide at level 6, but not a too threatening early game combo.
No, but as you said, look, talking about JDG first, if this team gets going, I mean, Jace, Xayah, we've seen JDG through 3 early games so far, despite in the second game getting handed to a little bit, really take control. And I'm talking about the 15-minute mark onwards, where JDG have just been in the driver's seat. And Lyric, just running through the comps quickly as well, 369 on something that can have a bit more side lane threat this time, can have a bit more carry potential. Still big impact in fights, but I think 369's taken the wheel a little bit for this potential last game.
But it could be a double-edged sword, right? By giving him potentially more onus and more ability to impact the game, you're also giving Bin more ability to impact the game.
Well, as we get into game number 3, just remember, Bin versus 369 isn't really where we started our story. It was Kanavi and Shun on your screen. The junglers where one is vastly inexperienced in relation to the other. I'll leave it up to you to guess. It's not really a hard guess to find out who's got the accolades. 80 carries, men on your screen, the same deal. Who has the accolades, I wonder? Who's got a World Championship skin and has won LCK, LPL, MSI, Worlds, all 4 titles, or at least 2 different regions and 2 internationals? Elk is only dipping his toe in here for the first time as BLG now have the reverse sweep here in this series. The Golden Road is what we've talked about plenty of times on this broadcast today and in the lead up to playoffs here for JDG. I said they have a date with Destiny, Lyric. Let's find out if that's true, because if they 3-0 this, they're going to be a shoo-in for yet another finals, for their Golden Road to continue, for their Grand Slam to be up in the air, as it's one more game in this series to lock in World for JDG. BLG now have to stop that.
Every player on this JDG roster was at Worlds last year. I need to maybe not care about Worlds for now, as JDG were hoping for something spicy, but not able to find it. But yeah, despite the fact that this roster doesn't get the right, all 5 of these players also making Worlds last year. Or of course, Gen G, Knight with top esports.
Yep.
So, like, they're definitely expected to do it. But the shenanigans don't end, man. You know, yeah, I don't care about Worlds anymore. I like that JDG kind of wandering the map at minute 1, hoping to find something. That's the power of the Braum. I mean, you know, you go back, Braum and Olaf kind of always talked about as those 2 level 1 kings. Knight, though, living on a knife's edge right now.
Yeah, he really is, isn't he? I mean, again, with an Alistar, all it takes is a flash Q, and game could start the opposite of what JDG want. Because Lyric, you did talk about it. BLG might need some time here. Because once they get rolling, I feel like if we get to a team fight, if we get to an all-out 5v5 brawl, my God, does this team have some scaling?
Yeah, they do. I mean, just really strong components across the board. The Azir there, the Gwen. Again, you might have to worry about itemization a little bit. Elk will have to really pick up the slack. But Elk is someone who we know can do it. Got a pentakill in his left. The thing I'm most scared of for potentially JDG this game is just Gnar being a more volatile champion in lane. You know, when he's mini, like, Bin will potentially have chances to find solo kills on him. So by going with this more bruiser side lane option, he opens himself up to potential punishment if Bin, you know, can keep performing in lane like you expect him to.
Well, he's going to have to because mid is going the same direction as before Lyric. I know it's the matchup, but even though Knight missed the Shock Blast combo, I mean, Yagao is once again getting punished here on the Azir. And this time it might not even be the LeBlanc like it was in game 1, but still you expect Knight to continue dominating.
Knight going to be able to maintain pressure, and look at the minimap. Kanavi once again trying to be the aggressor, wants to make his way around and come for a gang topside. We've seen this exact thing play out before where Shun was on his Krugs too.
We have.
And
but Shun's nearby. I mean, 369 takes a bit of a chunk. Now, how quickly can
Shun's
enemy jungler get
over.
through? Shun needs to, might even need to flash, or he might need to get a move on, and 369 could be the new target, getting the true damage. Bin flashes away. Shun now here, but Kanavi holds onto his summoner. You still get top flash, and 369 doesn't take a heavy trade, so a win for JDG in the early game.
And we're seeing it consistently where, like, Kanavi is willing to go for, like, 3 camps into early gank. Shun doing more to prioritize, just clearing out his jungle, being able to get ahead in levels and make things happen. And it's really paying off for JDG and really just setting BLG behind. I guess that's not what's setting BLG behind, but the play's coming through.
Oh, into turret. Missing's in trouble. Has to flash away. The trample going to get the stun. There's the second skin proc from Elk. Trying to find Ruler, but he steps up to the wave. Ignite now down onto On. Even though Missing takes a heavy trade, it is Ruler who fights back as in the top side. Meanwhile, there's no back here from Knight as in again. Once more, Elk jumping up, but Ruler just turns his target. Elk has to flash away. On's now the new target. The concussive blows forces his flash as well as JDG's 2v2. Just when you think they're losing, they turn it around again.
And Ruler, once again, having to burn no summoners in the exchange. On and Missing both blowing theirs, but Elk losing a flash. So for Kanavi, when we've been praising him so much about his proactivity, no, man. Elk, you got to get out of there, buddy.
Oh, God. We're looking mid, though, because hang on, Yagao's turning it around onto Knight. He flashes away. Doesn't want to match because he can't. Remember, the flash was burnt before. But Knight having to burn his is a good sign of life, at least for BLG, when we're watching this bot.
His thirst is not stopping, and even Shun's making his way over now.
Oh,
he should be fine. It finally gets stopped, as we're going to see here of exactly how the flash was forced. Just going with the full-on engage, being scared of Kanavi being able to jump in, lock him down, both of them play off that passive. And a good call by Yagao flashing pretty early.
And as Knight gets forced out, remember he did teleport back in as Yagao's just burnt his own, but I think we need to quickly talk about the bottom side. That was CS denied. It's a 10 CS lead plus plating for Ruler. Double longsword back into the lane might be matched by Elk, but Lyric, we have to remember that this series, I mean, I feel like Ruler's really been putting his feet in the sand and enjoying a walk around the beach so far in the first 2 games.
He really has. I mean, their 2v2 has been immaculate. You know, they've had a lot of jungle attention to play with, but even without it, they've been the ones delivering. We saw the patience of them holding summoners in game 1, and that really being the difference once we started getting to the 3v3s. And now here, you know, being up boots on his opponent, movement speed, always nice to help you, especially like run down some of these plays and chase the opponent. Is the ward, I believe, spawning him out when he'd walked out of the brush for a moment. Not going to be able to deliver any type of gank just yet. But still, JDG going to keep up pressure. They're maintaining pressure in the mid lane matchup, despite the fact that Knight almost did get solo killed. And they're, you know, able to put up pressure in the 2v2 in bot.
and start Dragon because of it as well. On is just peeking his head in to see if it's really being done, but if he goes any further, Knight will collapse. There's no jungler here. Shun's in base. They're trying to threaten as Elk steps up to Ruler, but there's a level advantage. And now Elk has lost half his HP bar. He was already 20 CS behind as the wave meets again. Lyric On's trying to buy time as Bin's come down at level 6 to say g'day.
And this has been, I think, feeling that he hasn't been able to find huge impact in this game so far. And he wants to. He's giving up, you know, losing CS in top. Might potentially as a play, but look at the rotation.
They might find more, because onto missing now. The damage going to be done. Second skin is piling into him. Ruler now fighting from the back line as Needlework flies through. Bin gets first blood. Dragon resets. He was losing a lot topside as Yagaon has to go cover, but he's missing stuff mid. Lyric, we have to ask, was that worth it?
Still, I mean, the fact that he just lost 1 CS, you know, to the turret, I believe only 1 or 2 must have gone down top from when it was crashing there. It doesn't look like they've actually ended up losing out on all too much for the fact that they brought Bin down with how quick Yagao was able to get up to that top side.
I just love it. We've got a jungler and Bin at this point on the Gwen. I mean, that's great. First blood over to the Gwen. As you said, I mean, that's 1 CS difference in top side. Ninja Tabi picked up, and he'll be walking back to that top lane, not missing too much with the cannon wave now up here for JDG's 369. So we look across the board. Gold actually only down about 500-600 gold in JDG's favor after all said and done.
Oh, On might find Ruler. Oh, actually, no, for missing.
He's now coming in. Once missing. Second skin getting close to being proc here again. Trample's good. Missing has to stay in place as Shun. Now rotates in, but he's in a low health bar. Ruler pulls in the feathers, steps up again. No fear out of this 80 carry, no matter who runs at him.
No, just not even really needing to worry about anything. I mean, he has both of his summoners up, which is why I believe On looking for missing there with how far forward he was, hoping he'd knock him a little bit closer to the team and that the engage should come through. But nothing comes out. Maybe if Shun had committed more aggressive, like a, you know, go in, twisted advance, set up Elk. But we saw the damage from Ruler. Then maybe Ruler just pops ulti. He gets a huge root, and the play flips for JDG.
Level difference, 25 CS. I'll keep reminding you guys at home how good it's looking here for this JDG 80 carry. As across the board, it's looking good for Bin with that move down. Again, I still can't believe he walked all that way.
Well, he did TP to the mid lane turret.
Yeah, I was going to correct myself. I feel like with teleport and cooldown, that must have been it. But Lyric, as we come back to
you don't need to correct yourself. We correct each other here.
Ah, okay, that's good, because bloody hell, you're going to be
do.
running out of voice with the amount of times you have to do it for me. But hey, Dragon's going to be done. BLG do get it in the end. So after all said and done, after that big play with Kanavi starting it off, BLG a couple of minutes later are finally going to pick it up.
So BLG gonna get that first one on the board, which is nice. Also nice, like, whenever it gets picked up a bit later in my mind, because we don't have to worry about some kind of, like, early timer really deciding the game and giving us a lot of room to breathe with the fights coming through. And speaking of fights, like, honestly, one of the more unimpactful early games.
Yep.
Feels kind of hard to say that because there has still been, like, teams trying to force action, but no kills really going through other than that one that Bin's been able to find. I think both teams being fine with taking it a bit slower with how the compositions have panned out, but still, for BLG, it seems like wanting to dodge out on that bot lane 2v2 with how much Ruler is getting, and it's going to allow Ruler to just pick up even more plates in the spot lane by himself.
Especially with Elk now being shown on topside wave. I mean, Bin hasn't moved yet. Ruler having the time of his life. This guy playing Pac-Man, except there's no NPC to eat him up. Just free fruit for him as BLG take the Herald on the top side. Meanwhile, but Ruler might even just get first turret blood at this rate, Lyric. I mean, no one from BLG cares.
Do they really 3v4 this, though? JDG, I was going to say, like, I feel like you'd be risking a lot of momentum that you're getting with Ruler. So they back off in the end. It was like a bit of wasted time, but there really isn't too much to get on the opposite side of the map anyway, with the fact that Ruler's already doing this himself. Everyone's showing no camps up in enemy jungle. I don't know if they, you know, would be aware of that because no one's really walked into the enemy jungle in recent times, but still.
You got 4 plates!
4,000. So yeah, full like 1.1 create. Hold up.
Double Nara ult into the wall. They jump straight onto On. That was a beautiful ult from 369. They didn't expect it as Elk cleanses the way, but it's too late. Shun now jumps on in. Concussive blow's going to stack going up as he's now in place, falling forward. Has to flash away. Just when you look away, one member of JDG steps up.
Ruler, you need to be careful. You got his flash.
He doesn't flash or heal.
I know, exactly. I was just saying, I know Ruler has his thumbs up. I know Ruler has his ultimate. But my God, like these guys, I'm with you. They must be machines. How do you not heal there? How do you worry about absolutely nothing in that situation?
That's nuts. There's no way. There's actually no way that Ruler doesn't burn anything on one more hit. I mean, again, it's just been wild throughout this series. While it is a 2-0, it's been a wild ride for both of these teams. As Lyric, I have to mention, with that play from BLG seemingly to pick up the Herald, they lost so many plate spot, and then this happened.
Like, not expecting 369 to be able to come in. I like missing two, connecting with the flash and the passive to try to get a bit more done on. That was very close to 2 kills, just right there. And then even once again, Q being connected, they're able to run down the Maokai and get another one. So they're just taking advantage of everything. And again, it just feels like BLG really just falling apart at the seams.
30 CS lead, plates galore, Rulers a level up, the kills in topside. Guess what? That one went over to 369. They got Flash and Cleanse out of Elk. They got Flash out of Shun as well. Dragon's not up for 2 minutes, but remember, BLG might have picked that up. They might have picked up the Herald, but they are trailing in gold. And Lyric, we know these 2 items on JDG, you're talking about, like, the all-in damage is going to be insane before BLG can respond with some consistent DPS of their own.
Exactly, right? The burst is going to be able to come out. The Jace is getting large. You're going to have damage on Ruler. Still, at least, you know, we see some vision clearing coming out now for JDG on bot side. You have a great, like, vision line in River. But that one ward behind Dragon Pit didn't get spotted, so might still be able to keep a bit of tabs on where Kanavi is. But they're really going to need to start fighting to have some information of their own. We even see right now, missing on the minimap, maybe even roaming up to affect topside.
Trying to. For now, BLG are making their play bot side as the counterpunch, if you will. A ward's going to spot Sapling over the ward, so Ruler pays the respect. But 55 seconds, BLG getting in nice and early to set up some of the vision control around this neutral, while JDG stop the play towards the top side and start moving down themselves.
Yeah, just getting some vision down for now, setting Kanavi up to go for the steal on the red buff. With, like I said, with Dragon coming up soon, I wonder if JDG are going to feel more pressed to get that, or if they just want to keep furthering the gold trade and try to end this game before, you know, things like Soul even become relevant, because that's also an option too. Looking towards top, trying to get more plates here before this tower falls, and maybe potentially diving in, but looks like that's not in the cards, as for now, Kanavi just keeps stealing away Shun's camps.
Herald going to be placed in the meanwhile as well. 15 seconds to that Dragon. And remember that Bin 369 do have teleport if this gets rowdy, as plating is shared between Yagao and Shun. Kanavi coming in for a flank, though this is dangerous, but he is spotted on a ward. So BLG will just walk towards River and seemingly walk towards the second Dragon with the way this map state is.
Knight has TP, so it's just going to instantly TP back to lane. Dustblade now being picked up. So Mythic's being matched on both sides because Crowd of the Shadow Queen now for Yagao. Ruler, this is so dangerous for him to walk this close by himself. Going to try and make his way around now.
So the Blast Cone might use that to get back to the team as Teleport going to be burned. Okay, guys, get ready for another 5v5 as On goes into the Unbreakable Wheel, but as the double pulverize, he separates missing. Shun jumps on as Elk tries to hit him away, but Bin's now joined in. Let's wait. Giga Bin at the ready. The fists are in the air as they get themselves a Dragon. They get themselves a pick, and BLG this time don't overforce Lyric. They find the kill, they find the advantage, and they get out.
Yeah, just playing it really smooth, right? Finding the engages. Ruler finally forced to burn a summoner. Having to be afraid there of Yagao, because Yagao didn't use the Emperor's Divide in the last play.
Ruler's now coming back towards a bit. He's trying to stop the back from Yagao after all's said and done, but hey, that's a good sign. I mean, BLG are now only 2,000 gold behind, but Lyric, they are Dragon stacking with this composition. And it feels relevant when, you know, last game, even though there was a gold lead, I feel like BLG weren't this calm, weren't this concentrated, and weren't coming out with some advantages. I don't know if I'm just S-talking here because I'm just trying to give confidence to BLG, but still, I think the point stands that they're
it doesn't matter, like whether it's true or not, BLG needs some hype right now. And this is where, again, as an unbiased third party, we can provide that hype for the benefit of a close game. And that's all you're trying to do, as we see here, right? Trying to protect his team, throwing up the shield for the engage so it can't be followed through on. But then the knockbacks start coming through on, of course, being able to flash away and then having all those resistances from the ult means he survives. It was very close to being a 1-for-1 trade where both supports just go down in the end, but not going to be able to happen. And that's really without both top laners either able to find an impact in that fight, right? We had the flank come in from Bin, but not able to deal much damage at 369. Like huge, big Gnar ultimate that I think 369 and a lot of us are looking him to provide.
Already picked up one in the top side against the 2v2 of BLG, as Herald now being contested over. JDG are here first, but there's good wards by BLG to spot it out, as Missing might be caught out here, but stand beside me. Over to Ruler, over the wall, has been now in threat, but Kanavi won't pull the trigger. Instead, Herald resets, and BLG look to draw it out again.
JDG playing this one so patient. I'd like to see him play a bit more off the accelerated shot class. I'm not sure if Knight's been throwing them out in mid and trying to hit Elk with them, and maybe Elk has just been sidestepping. Woo! Didn't sidestep that one.
No way. I mean, that hurts. Again, pops the pot straight away, but Elk without it could be dangerous as he engage onto Missing this time. They all dive on in. Yagao holding the ult for now, but Bin zoning them off with the needleworkers. 369 into the backline with Ruler yet again is taking the pieces away from BLG. Kanavi on top of Elk forces the cleanse, but how did they do it? JDG lose their support, but now they're trying to fight for more. It might be Missing Den, but Yagao without his ulti in commission as 369 forced the flush out of Elk, but Kanavi's here. Now on to On. JDG out of nowhere yet again.
And JDG now gonna be able to push this wave in top. We see Ruler taking turn in mid, and now 5k gold lead. 5k gold lead for JDG. It feels like those dragons, again, not mattering whatsoever, because JDG, they're just playing to accelerate the game and kind of recreate the magic that we found in game one. And hell, they even picked up the Herald for their troubles.
This must be a mental block. This must be like wearing a tinfoil hat in the 80s. You know, trying to block out all the signals. BLG just can't get JDG out of their head.
And I feel like the big difference maker here is with 369 coming on the flank, it pulls BLG's focus to where they have to start running away. Bin and Shun get forced one way. You do a great job forcing the others top side. And Ruler was free hitting in the first part of that exchange because of 369 and Kanavi and the pressure they were putting up. Elk gonna do the most he could with the summoners. Once Kanavi jumps over the wall, they're gonna be able to find it. But it's just those different angles and the different ways that JDG are attacking that team fight. I was scared that 369's flank might be too slow, but things like the ultimate coming out from Missing, buying so much time for that to happen. And of course, then he can just hop over the wall and become part of the party.
And when he's got health targets as well, I mean, he's got Hyper. Remember that Hyper just does so much damage to some of the tankier targets as well, especially this earlier on. So it feels like for 369, I mean, he's in form, not only in this game, but today too. Item advantage in that top side as Yagao is going to be locked in place. Crown of the Shadow Queen gives him time, but he shifts out of there. Great ulti as he slides and glides, but now Missing is here to provide. Ulti hit!
Oh,
what a snipe as Yagao with a sidestep down. The Pink Shung boy, the other half, will narrowly avoid his old friend as BLG making a hyper play towards mid. Herald, though, is going to race them.
So it looks like it should just end up being one turret for one turret at the end of the day. But JDG, they can now start pivoting towards Dragon. That's spawning in 1 second. They have more members closer by. And once again, multiple angles they can kind of threaten to fight from, with 369 still being in lane. You have to worry about the accelerated shot glass in mid. So at the end of the day, BLG are going to give it up, but great sidestep from Yagao.
Dude,
I thought it was a bit for sure.
Knight has to flash away. Nature's Grasp is following as well, as JDG are trying to converge on this. Look at 369. Maybe going against it now, though, as JDG didn't want to overstep their mark. They got Dragon here, Lyric. They do get flash out of Knight. That's from BLG's angle, but it is a 6k gold lead with that bottom side turret and almost pushing towards an inhib turret as well. We look at the replay, at least a play from BLG, who are still trying to fight to get into the grand finals through this upper bracket.
Yeah, BLG. I mean, if BLG lose here, they are not down and out. They live to fight another day. They have to go meet LNG, which is scary when LNG pushed JDG all the way to 5 games.
True.
I think definitely would prefer, if they're going to have to potentially play 5 games anyway, I think they'd prefer it be here. They end up winning and then guarantee that spot in the final. But it is looking so grim right now. Almost 6k gold lead. We see the amount of pressure 369 is putting up. He has that force of nature, and we hit on, right? You're playing against that triple AP threat on top side. It's also where all the kills have gone. I mean, Yagao, Shun, and Bin holding the 3 kills for BLG. So That MMR are going to get tremendous value.
All night. Here we go again, trying to get the crown out. As Yagao last time, it was the Sejuani ult that Kanavi is not going to throw down this time around. Threatening as Yagao plays super defensive, but Lyric, it's one step away right now for JDG, having the lead in the palm of their hands as Bin versus 369 continues to be enticing. Mega Nara about to come up though, and Bin wants none of it. One more step towards locking in Worlds. The first team in the world to do so with a win here. Remember, based on points, at bare minimum, they will be second seed. A win in the championship, first seed. And JDG's golden road can continue for this year, of course, with a championship win. But, I mean, this is the team that won MSI for a reason. This is a team that clapped the cheeks of BLG in the grand finals of MSI too. You know, BLG are not a bad team.
6 times this year.
6 times this year. Again, I've got the scores. 2-3 versus BLG, or 3-2, excuse me, in round 4 in spring. 3-1 versus BLG in spring finals. 3-1 versus BLG at MSI finals. So every single time BLG have been mentally boomed against this team this year. Even in regular season, it was a 2-1 at the start of spring in week 1. It is just insane how BLG can't overcome their new nemesis. They can't get past JDG no matter how hard they try.
No, and now, hoping for a bit of a miracle, we did just have Nashers completed by Bin. It's going to give him a bit more DPS, a bit more damage. Able to come out, but you're still just making it further and further ahead for JDG solo laners as well, right? Before we were just on 2 items, now some components built up for 369. Same thing going to happen in mid lane. And this is before we even have, like, magic resist really coming out for people like Knight. Hexshrink already built up for Ruler, is showing, has to get out of there.
He does indeed. I mean, Kanavi always a threat as JDG are not stopping there. Baron's up as well, Lyric. We don't have a Dragon timer. So with all these wards getting cleared out, JDG are trying to threaten that they're going to do the purple worm.
Exactly, right? They're trying to pull them out from their safety net of their base. You know, put that question mark in their mind, be like, hey, we can be on this at any point, and then try and set up a pick that way, probably with the Glacial Prison coming out from Kanavi. And they know they're going to have to actually start turning on it for real. So BLG actually end up falling for this. And they're doing it so fast!
It's a 4K trying to poke it down. We need a steal here. Sean needs to be the hero, but he can't do it. Baron is gone in an instant, and guess what? The crown is gone from Yagao, missing with a quick winner's bite, is on going to be only slowed by the Glacial Prison, but 369 as he goes into Mininar. It's now the threat of range as BLG try to get the inside track on mid, but Baron has gone down. BLG's hopes in this game are going down. They have to make a play fast.
I feel like this Baron might have sealed their fate. This Baron could be the ticket, JDG's ticket to Worlds. A bit of gold back, but you're still 7k gold behind, and now you're not going to have any way of contesting the priority pressure.
There's a flash into Mininar, but 369 has a flash of his own. On is taking up the damage, but he can't absorb Ruler at the moment. Meganar comes through, and locked against the wall is Shun, but he's in a bad spot to teleport in the backline. BLG, this could be it. The root comes through from Ruler, who's already picked up a double kill. There's no way this guy gets a penta. No way. Yagao trying to force out the ult. He gets it, but flush from Ruler. A triple kill onto Elf. Ruler, is he going to get another one? Ruler, no! Knight takes it away, but Lyric, JDG may have just done it.
The peel from JDG in these team fights is absolutely insane. Hysterics, that started off as a 4v5 for a majority of that fight.
Look at the death time. It's 5 seconds on Shun. 369 has himself demolished. It might not be the end of the series here. Might not be end of the game. But JDG are going to move to a 10k gold lead and show us that they are head and heels over Billy Gaming.
JDG they go into BLG's house and they take what they want. Their PC, their bed. You know, BLG's parents are now their parents.
Their family.
Their job's their job. Exactly.
That's
They take literally everything they want.
How many kids have you got? Literally, you are not getting anything. No say as JDG show us why they are one of the best team fighting teams, if not the, in the world.
Yeah, and right, BLG are desperate. That's what this play is. 369 immediately flashed up. But look at this. Kanavi peeling for Ruler. You have the other dynamic duo on the opposite side preventing any play coming out from the Maokai. And, I mean, their front line is so big. And this was a 4v5 the whole time. Knight is just joining in. And it's going to be here where Yagao, they need to make a play, so they go for it. But the flash is beautiful. Heal comes out. And then, look, Kanavi and missing instantly jump back and no, it's to protect the president. It's to make sure this guy lives, and he keeps putting down the damage.
Look at this guy again, onto Elk now for the follow through. 369 about to go. Meganar cleanses out. That was from hyper slow. As Yagao loses crown again, BLG on death's door. Now for over the wall, On is going to try a miracle play, but Knight just says no. BLG have tried and tried again in this series, but JDG, spring champions for a reason, now looking to move into the finals. Yet again, onto Shun, concussive blow, stops him in place. On tries to bring it back as look at Elk, try to free fire as Bin has come in way too late. Bin left on his lonesome. JDG have double inhibitor up, and Lyric as he gets chased away by missing. You know that JDG have a date with Destiny. They've got the Golden Road calling. Our spring champions, MSI champions, have continued their curse on BLG. They will not be usurped by these up-and-comers. The defending champions will lock in their 2023 Summer Grand Finals to be the first team in the world to return to the world stage where Destiny's calling out their name.
JDG absolutely stepping up, delivering, like performing at the peak of their power, right? Because we always knew that at the top of their game, like this is JDG. But there were some question marks. Getting pushed to 5 games against LNG, how much did that mean? I feel like it's hard to know that, but before we saw, LNG take down top esports. But now it's like no questions asked. JDG continue to be able to beat anybody they contend with in the LPL. Now, once again, making it to finals. They're either going to rematch one of the two teams that they've already beaten. I will say LNG, was able to push them to 5, but BLG just seems like they have their number. Again, the firstborn isn't enough for JDG. They need all of it.
They need all of it, and they deserve all of it. 3-0. It was a stomp, but it was a classy one at that. It's like going in, instead of putting on your boots you got from Rivers, folks, you go into RM Williams, you pay $650, and you stomp them with class. These boots aren't for walking over horse poo. This is for going over the finest things in society. This is the ones that you put on when you go out for a country night, or at least, a steak night out in the country. Man, this team is good. And they are the first team in the world to be at Worlds. I mean, they are the first team because we finished so early in the split. JDG are the only team currently locked in for Worlds. Bare minimum second seed.
And it would actually be interesting, not to, we'll talk about this game, but if they finish second seed, because can you imagine being someone who wins your region and then you get JDG in your group? Sure. Almost makes me kind of want JDG to end up being a second seed, but JDG, they're so good, man. It's so hard to argue against anything. Their team fighting, superb. Their decision making in mid game is so good. They're laning. Today, I really feel like we just got to see the best of JDG. We did get to see a lot of I'd say arrogant moments by JDG. Moments I loved, like Ruler running forward, killing himself many times throughout the series because he knows his team's got his back and they're going to be able to close out, find kills, make things work. I love that in Game 3. We do get the Gnar coming out, and, it's something that has been viewed as, the counter to Gwen, but I feel like back when both those champions were meta staples, we never actually really got to see it. Still wasn't here, did fine in lane. It got through the lane, but then 369 having that, impact in that one team fight where he finds the flank over the Baron wall, so we finally got to see him rear his head. And yeah, JDG, I just want to see how far they go. I just want to fast forward 4 months into the future and see, do they get it done? Do they win LPL Summer and do they win Worlds? It's just, who knows? Maybe we make a galactic League of Legends league and they're probably the favorites in that too. I just don't know who could beat them.
Again, you can't go past some of the, especially the Korean dynasties that have come through out of the LCK. Yeah. But right now, are JDG good enough to find not only finals, but are they good enough to get into another Worlds finals, win that? It's never been done before. The Grand Slam within a single year in League of Legends has not been done, and it's early days, right? We are talking in an upper bracket final. However, it's like when, casters and fans were watching SKT in their prime, the years, I'm talking the years, where they came close to a Grand Slam themselves. People were discussing it early because of the quality of this team. I think, again, you say the same thing. The quality of JDG right now is insane, head over heels over our second best team. And that's why we have to start discussing it, because the world implications are already there. JDG are returning. It's now just about what form and in what seed.
And I'm like, to kind of move on and talk about BLG a little bit, I just really am disappointed. Not by like JDG losing, like whatever result is cool. Again, you kind of expect both these teams to meet back up in the final, which is why I predicted BLG 3-0, because I thought BLG will 3-0 here, and then JDG will win in the final. But BLG didn't even really show up. We didn't even really get to see like signs of life out from them. It really felt like they were outperformed across the board. Like Bin had some good laning phases, but never found impact. And he was trying, right? You were losing at this game when he just kind of showed up at Dragon. It's like, no, like he really wants to leave his stamp on this series and put everything onto the Rift. Yigao, we think of like his roams on the Ahri like last game having impact. We think of like Elkanon in some engages in last game. But that's about it. You kind of point to like one or two moments for each player, and that's all they really have going with them. Shun definitely getting outperformed all 3 games by Kanavi, and a lot of it coming down to that proactivity and just, I guess, how he's working with his laners.
I mean, again, like, Shun, while having some impactful plays, the fact that Kanavi was so relevant at any point in the game throughout this series was just nuts. Like, working with 369, as you're saying, really well. I think also just being heads and tails in love with Ruler and missing in the bottom lane because bot was always so much fun throughout the series. It's just crazy to see this guy in form, and especially when he's on facilitating junglers, Lyric. We know Kanavi is the carry jungler, but even on facilitators, this guy still carries himself.
Yeah, we've had different stages, right? Because like we said, 2020 was kind of like the pure carry era, and that was the meta, right? But Kanavi was one of the early pioneers of it, bringing out the Graves, bringing out the Kindred, all of those champions so strong. Then, 2021, JDG on a massive slump. He kind of moves over to a lot of early game proactivity, playing a ton of Lee Sin. Again, Dagda was really the one kind of like singing praise and be like, no, everyone, you need to watch Kanavi's Lee Sin. And then nowadays, like, able to play anything. You were highlighting it, like, the amount of champions he's played. You pull up his, like, Leaguepedia, Game of Legends, like, whatever it is you use. This man plays anything. Hell, despite it losing, brought out the Nico jungle last week. We never had it during the regular season, but was willing to bring it out in a high-profile playoff game. So I really just am so impressed with the form that Kanavi came in today. And if there was like an overarching series MVP, I think it's maybe a conversation between especially Knight and Kanavi in my mind. Everyone had good games, but I think I'd lean to Kanavi. Like Kanavi today, like whole day overall, was just so good.
I mean, again, consistency is huge. And when we talked about JDG, versus BLG being a hype matchup where, jungle's comparison with form, with how we've seen JDG versus LNG, but BLG versus top esports and the regular season hypes them up. It's just crazy that this big flip from JDG occurred today, that this 3-0 came off the back of JDG being so clean. And that's why this team is being hyped up. And look, for BLG, we talked about it. They're not out. They've still got to verse LNG. But now the biggest question is who's going to be in the finals with Jingdong, because
I know
either it's going to be tight, but is it going to be a win for either of these teams? It's going to be an uphill battle.
And it's hard because I don't know how to predict it when BLG stomp literally everyone in the LPL. They stomp literally everyone in the LPL in the regular season, and then they come and they get stomped by JDG so hard, and LNG went to 5 games. It's like, what do you even think going into that series? Because pretty much any result wouldn't surprise me now. If BLG go in 3-0 LNG, I wouldn't be surprised. If LNG smash BLG or like it goes to 5 games, either one of those results, like any result now, wouldn't surprise me just from like how this equation has ended up of like BLG better than everyone, but JDG so much better than BLG, but not so much better than LNG. I don't know, man. I'm trying to do like equations right now out of League of Legends, and it makes no sense.
I mean, no, you can't. It's too difficult to do. And
yeah,
I'll bring it back because 369's MVP. I was just listening in my ears. I thought, is Kanavi going to get it again? But I think that 2-man ulti topside put the game in motion for JDG. Like 369 had a great series as well. This is the thing. Kanavi might be the one we talk about. Ruler, Knight, flashy plays. Missing and 369 were great supportive players throughout the whole series, and JDG couldn't have done it without them.
Yeah, I mean, he was so crucial. You already pointed out, the kills around top lane, but again, the kind of like flank and what he did to separate the position in that, playing that side lane so well, doing so much for this team. And it's why, again, I get it, because a lot of like people are starting to put more eyes on the LPL. The better the region does, the more exciting it gets. But I think a lot of people, because of his tenure on this JDG now, are going to think of him as a guy who, again, only plays tanks and can't carry games and can't take over. And it's like, you know, I don't mean you think back to like 2019 and 2020. And it's like, no, 369 has always been able to do both. 369 has always been a guy that like you would have like Zoom on one end and you'd have the Shy on the other. And 369 was always that perfect middle, which is why he's always been my favorite top laner in the LPL, because if you need him to sit under turret and accept his job, he does it. But if you want him to play like an absolute hyena and be in your face and overstep, like and rack up like 50 deaths but be 100 CS up, he'll do it. He does both. And yeah, it's just great. This man is definitely one of the most versatile top laners the LPL in the world's ever seen.
Yep, that's right. The most consistent, most versatile, and the one that looked up to the Shy in 2019.
Sent him a message.
It was so starstruck. The Shy noticed him. Now the Shy, look at where he is. He's in regionals, and 369 is going to Worlds as second seed or first. It's looking like first with JDG's form. Like, the student has become the teacher, really, with the Shy now having to look up to him. So 369, congratulations on the MVP. You could look across this talented roster, though, and pull out people who are deserving of MVPs in that series, in those games. We can't praise them enough, as now that they've secured Worlds, now that they've secured the Grand Finals, Lyric, I guess we just have to wait and see if BLG are going to be good enough to beat LNG, to meet them, and try and break this curse. Because as we look through this, BLG again, whenever it's JDG, it's just too hard to ask.
You know, again, this bracket just makes everything so confusing. It's like, okay, LNG pushed JDG to 3 games, JDG 3-0 BLG, but Weibo also pushed LNG to 5 games. So it's like, how good is Weibo? How good does Weibo stack up against like JDG or LNG? And like, if Top Esports got kind of stomped by everyone and they went to 5 games with EDG, what do we expect from EDG in regionals, man? I am confusing myself and everyone around me, and that's what I love. I love that because of how the bracket is shaped up, not only the next series, the grand final, like even regionals, I really have no idea what to expect. These teams just all look like at any given point a coin can flip and you can have a very competitive series, or any of them can just have a great day and rely on the star power they have, because all these teams are like star-studded rosters.
Yep. And I mean, again, the talent just keeps flying out. As Lyric, I got to mention something as well. Right now, I'm looking at points. You know, BLG obviously have secured top 3 regardless. That means they get 80 points. As right now, if LNG get the finals, they'll only have 130. So it requires JDG losing. I need to put this out there. BLG are still in a comfortable position to go to Worlds as second seed. If LNG beat them and go to finals, if JDG win, BLG is second seed. It needs to be LNG winning the championship. JDG will come second, go as second seed. Then BLG will have to fight for third or fourth. So right now, despite that loss, they're still in a great spot. It relies on LNG being gods and beating LNG, stopping the Golden Road. That's what's at stake. Beating BLG on top of that as well. It's a hard ask for LNG, but at the very least, I think BLG should still be comfortable knowing the chances of them going to Worlds are still bloody high.
I was going to say, though, not the hardest ask when you think back to their last series, right? So it is a weird one. The rest of these results are weird. I think JDG are just going to stay the favorites to winning the split overall. You know, I feel like they have been the whole time. And again, people might think, wait, but you guys predicted BLG. Again, we predicted BLG for this series. I don't think anyone in there like has ever doubted JDG making it to finals, whether from upper bracket or lower bracket, and then stepping up when it matters most. But yeah, so BLG versus LNG going to be the next banger we get to look forward to.
Looking forward to that. At the very least, that's coming up shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a bit of a break. And what I mean by that is we're not going to be with you tomorrow, but on Tuesday, the 1st of August, Losers Final is going to be there. Lyric, it is always a pleasure casting with you for the end of the year.
No, it's my pleasure.
No, it's my pleasure, actually. And Munchables and Jamada are going to have their own pleasure. I should stop talking. On Tuesday, in the Losers Final, before we get to the Grand Finals on the 5th of August, which will be a nice surprise for everyone when you see our setup. Ladies and gentlemen, it's bye for now, but not forever. We'll see you on Tuesday.